Douluo, my martial spirit is the phoenix. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51. Dean Doyle comes to help. Quick, retreat. This guy is a lunatic. On the street near Francis College, Ma Xiaopang's clothes were torn, and his body was covered with scars. Not long ago, when fighting with the bandits, he took them by surprise and killed them with great effect, but these 9 people came prepared, so Hongjun had a hard time. At the beginning, Dingning and others deployed their martial arts and were ready for battle. Even though the second soul skill combined with martial arts skills injured 4 people in succession, they did not kill them with one blow. Facing 9 soul masters at the same time, no matter how careful he was still seriously injured. If it had not opened up 39 acupoints, the soul power stored in it would have automatically released part of it when it was almost exhausted. He might have collapsed on the street because of the exhaustion of soul power. There was no other way. Hongjun had to use the most primitive fighting method, using the advantages of the silver dragon spear, to pick 9 people with the spear, and finally use the method of exchanging injuries for injuries to directly stab 2 people to death. With the death of the 2, blood was spilled all around. Hongjun's eyes turned red, and scary, red like a demon about to break free from the cage. It's just a wrong name. No overlapping nicknames. The evil fire phoenix is not in vain. In the original novel, Hongjun's soul power has been growing with his body, and there is no excessive suppression. Therefore, until he obtained the fairy grass and suppressed the evil fire, he did not show many terrible sequelae. But in this life, with the crazy improvement of his strength and the crisis that touched his bottom line again and again, the evil fire in his body became more and more intense. And with the battle that squeezed his soul power and the temptation of blood, he was almost unable to suppress his chaotic will. All of you die. Hongjun's round face could no longer be seen clearly, covered with blood stains, and it was hard to tell whether it was his own or someone else's. Dingning, Zia and others had never seen such a scene. Although they said harsh words, they were still students after all. They usually bullied students in the academy, and they really didn't kill people. In just half an incense stick of time, 2 of the 9 of them were killed, and their original calmness and ferocity collapsed in an instant. Looking at the blood under the 2 corpses and the thick white brains on their heads, they panicked for a moment, and their legs trembled. I don't want to play anymore. Seeing this scene, another boy who was called to help didn't care about anything else. His courage had long been worn out, and he turned around and ran away without saying a word. But Hongjun, who was already furious at this time, would never allow her to escape. The tetanus blade was wrapped in a fierce flame and shot out. Be careful. Dingling yelled and wanted to stop him, but he was still a step too slow. The flaming dagger pierced his chest directly from behind. The poor man only had time to twitch on the ground for a while before he was completely silent. However, before Dingling and others turned around, screams came from behind. This is not a so-called martial arts competition, and it must be fair and above board. In a life and death battle, as long as you are still standing, you are the winner. Ma Xiaopang stabbed Dingwen to the ground with a gun, and then pounced on him, biting his ear and tearing his ear off alive. Everyone felt a chill, and a chill instantly hit them. At this time, Hongjun was still sober and knew what he was doing, but the evil nature affected his will, making the evil thoughts in his mind infinitely magnified. The figure lying on Dingwen slowly raised his head, a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he spit out something with blood all over his face. It turned out to be Dingwen's ear. Evil demon. Mukang trembled and retreated. He was really scared. The scene in front of him shocked his soul. Even if it was a soul beast, he only hunted and absorbed the soul ring, and he was not the one who used the knife. But when this soul beast was replaced by a human, the sense of deja vu that shocked the soul was simply goosebumps. Dingwen was already beyond saving. When Hongjun spit out his ear, he slowly inserted 2 fingers into his eyeball and pulled him out alive. I quit. Can't leave. Must kill him. Turda's eyes were condensed. From those blood red eyes, he saw something unusual. He raised his knife decisively and chopped it down, wanting to take advantage of the moment when this demon was distracted to cut off his head. Clang. Ma Xiaopang raised his right arm and actually blocked the vertical slash with his right hand. This kid actually has an arm guard on his wrist. Turda failed to cut him with a knife and immediately stepped back to avoid the stabbing done. This kid has a mental problem. It's a good opportunity to kill him. Turda warned. Kill. Dingling's eyes were about to burst. His brother was actually tortured and killed in front of him. Although the relationship was not very good, they belonged to the same tribe after all, and they had lived together for more than 10 years. How could there be no feelings? Dingling's whole body moved forward, rushing towards the silver dragon spear. The terrifying brute force flowed through his arms. With a fierce swing, he actually knocked the silver dragon spear off the target. Then his whole body crashed into Ma Xiaopang, knocking him flying. However, at this moment, two figures caught him from behind. Hongjun turned his head and his vision gradually became clear. It turned out to be Gula, Gudu and others. I say, little fat man, you are really good. This style is too cool. Soon, Frieza and others also rushed over. How are you, Ma Xiaopang? Are you okay? However, Ma Xiaopang lost too much blood. After seeing so many familiar people, he felt relaxed and fainted. Gudu, you guys hurry up and get out of my way. I will kill him today. Dingling walked forward step by step, not giving in at all. He was already overwhelmed by hatred. What if I say no? Gudu glanced at him faintly. Then you can die with him. Dingling didn't care whether the people behind him followed or not and rushed forward directly. Humph, you are looking for death. It turned out that when the movement of the Ding family was reported this morning, Frieza happened to be returning to school from home. After seeing the situation clearly, he hurriedly prepared to rush to school. Unfortunately, his speed was not as fast as Ma Xiaopang. After seeing Ma Xiaopang fighting with Dingling and others, he quietly bypassed them and rushed to the office of the dean and others. When he found Dean Doyle, Gudu and others were there. After learning the news, they decided that the dean would take people to support Vice Dean Shire, and Gudu would take people to rescue Hongjun. On the other side, Doyle, Four and others had stopped Ding Yichin and others. A group of people were on the deserted street, and they were on the verge of a fight. Are you okay, Shire? Four, the good old man, asked with concern. Shire shook her head and said, it's okay, just a minor injury. Then she stared at Ziliu, who was trimming his nails with his hands, pinching his orchid fingers and twisting his waist. Be careful of that man, he is very strong. Chapter 52 Elf Guard. Yeah, I see. He was the one who hurt you, right? Doyle didn't turn around, but just stared at her all the time, with no smile on his face. Ding Yichin frowned and shouted, Dolgara, this matter has nothing to do with you. I advise you to take your people and get out of here quickly. This woman killed the fifth son of my Ding family. Even if someone from the Empire comes today, I will kill her. You dare to touch my people. Doyle's face suddenly changed, and he roared with a ferocious face, and then disappeared from the spot in an instant. So fast. Ziliu was shocked and wanted to step forward to stop him, but before he could do so, Ding Yichin was hit in the abdomen by Doyle's punch, and flew out directly. You are actually a soul saint. As Doyle attacked with a punch, he stood in front of the enemy, and his soul rings also emerged, and there were 7 of them. You know, Dalgara has always regarded himself as a soul emperor in the outside world, but I didn't expect that in the past few years he has quietly broken through and entered the soul saint realm. A soul saint fighting a soul emperor is simply a heavy blow. Even Ziliu had to be on guard. Although he was much stronger than Shire, his soul power was still at level 60, and he had not experienced a qualitative change and breakthrough. He was no match for Doyle. It was you who just injured Shire, right? Doyle turned his head indifferently, with anger rising in his eyes. Even if this woman killed your 5th brother, it doesn't matter. If you dare to touch my people, you are against me. Doyle's martial soul emerged, and it was also a flying martial soul, or 3-headed bird. It was another extremely rare beast martial soul, and it was a bird. It was simply the natural enemy of Ziliu's winged snake, and it showed absolute suppression in all aspects. After just a few rounds, Ziliu was beaten to a mess, and finally he was knocked to the ground by a claw. His bright and beautiful clothes were tattered, and he completely lost his composure not long ago. TSK, it's really miserable. Doyle is really angry this time. A teacher on the side laughed. He has been teaching at Francis College for more than 10 years, and knows Douglas well. A smiling and rogue dean, he has no temper, and can't manage anything, but he likes to manage things. But once he gets angry, Four smiled meaningfully on the side. Shire, you see, this old guy Doyle still cares about you. Shire turned her head and said angrily, I'm the honorary vice president of Francis College. How can he not care? The money he contributes every year is nearly half of the income of the college. Bullying me is equivalent to slapping him in the face. The more Shire talked, the angrier she became. You guys are too slow. I was almost disgusted to death by that pervert. Doyle alone suppressed Zliu in the fight. The big gap in soul power level was more difficult to make up in the later stage. After all, most of the soul masters in this world are normal. Not everyone is like Tang-san, who has a 100,000 year soul ring and a level 70 spiritual power that is the same as that of a titled Douluo. Is that a human? Who can compare with a cheetah? However, Ding Yichen's side has 4 soul emperors, 6 soul kings, and several soul lords who have arrived one after another. Soon, 4 and the teachers also joined the battle, and a terrible melee broke out on the whole street. On the other hand, the battle between the 3 soul Daluos on the Ding family side caused unimaginable damage. 2 of the Ding family's fortresses collapsed, and the gate of the Ding family was covered with rubble, and could no longer be seen. Even the 2 huge copper doors disappeared, and no one knew where they were buried. Douluo, who was standing on the lotus, looked down from above, staring at the 2 people below with a serious look. Dinke and Ada cooperated so well that, even though his soul power was higher than the 2 of them, with their tacit cooperation, whenever he was about to hit Dinke, Ada, who was hiding in the shadows, would appear and force Douluo to stop. In this back and forth, the surrounding buildings were almost destroyed, but it was Douluo himself who was seriously injured. Dinke's martial soul was a bull, which made him durable and recovered quickly. If he was not old, it would be difficult to hurt him. Who are you? I know most of the soul Douluo and title Douluo on this continent. I recognize a Dinke, an old shaman. Where did you come from? The strength of the Spirit Hall organization is spread all over the place, and it is distributed in various villages and towns in the empire. Most of the talented children will be invited to the Spirit Hall for key training when they are undergoing the Spirit Awakening ceremony. Therefore, as the largest soul master organization in the entire continent, the Spirit Hall has almost all the records of soul masters. It's fine for a Dinke to break through from a soul saint to a soul Douluo secretly, but now there is another one. Douluo frowned. It seemed that he still needed to strengthen his control over the Empire's spirit masters. However, Ada pointed at the figure in the air and said, I know you. You are Douluo, the honorary vice elder of the Spirit Hall. You are 69 years old this year. A lackey of the Spirit Hall. What did you say? Douluo's eyes were about to burst. As the honorary vice elder of the Spirit Hall, a group of people would treat him with respect wherever he went. This rat hiding in the dark actually provoked him again and again. You really pissed me off. Douluo took off his coat, and the lotus under his feet continued to grow larger. The 12 petals separated at the same time and spun around him faster and faster. 8th soul skill, Angry Lotus Clone. The 12 petals of the lotus were wrapped in a burst of white light, and in an instant they turned into 12 people who looked exactly like Douluo. The group of people stepped on the lotus at the same time and attacked the 2 people below. Even Ada, who had the dark attribute, could not hide now. He was targeted by the 5 clones and Douluo's main god, and could not hide at all. During the fight, a shiny card on Ada's body fell out and was picked up by Douluo. Elf. Douluo thought for a moment and then suddenly got shocked. You are the elf god of the Berek Kingdom. Although the Berek Kingdom was affiliated with the Xiandao Empire, it had its own complete imperial system. The elf guard was the most mysterious royal guard of the Berek Kingdom. They only obeyed the orders of the Berek royal family. Those who could join them were at least soul masters at the Soul King level. It can be said that none of them were weak. As a royal guard, you actually obeyed the orders of an old dog. It seems that the Berek royal family is being corrupted more and more seriously. Douluo's soul power burst out, and he directly crushed the crystal-like identity card. Chapter 53 Leaving. Humph, I'm loyal to the royal family, but I'm also the master's servant. The master raised me since I was a child, and Ada will repay him with his death. Ada was born as a servant of the Ding family. When he was a child, he was weak and sickly. His parents wanted to throw him away. In the end, it was Dinke, who was the young master of the family at that time, who saved his life and cured his asthma. Since then, Ada has become a confidant secretly cultivated by Dinke, and he did not disappoint. His strength increased day by day, and finally, under Dinke's arrangement, he joined the Berek Kingdom, and finally mixed into the Elf Guard. This organization is usually very loose, only responsible for the royal family, and is generally in a dormant state. Only a few people are responsible for guarding the palace for a long time, and the rest are distributed to the ground until an order is issued, and then they will gather briefly. It turns out that he is just a loyal dog raised by the Ding family. Douluo sneered, and the speed of his hands increased again. Countless petals flew, like a sharp blade, that can tear through space, flying up and down in the air. 8th soul skill, Shadow Sky Blade. A dagger shot out from the void, with a black tail, and seemed to cut through the void all the way. It actually killed 4 clones in succession, before it dissipated powerlessly. HMPH, you are quite capable, much stronger than your useless master. Douluo's 8th soul skill is very strong, which is why he can become an honorary deputy elder. Although the clone cannot use soul skills, it is equivalent to 80% of the strength of the original body. Once a fight starts, almost no strong man of the same level can match him. The only flaw is that it cannot be reused in a short period of time, otherwise it will hurt the soul. Even if 4 clones are lost, there are still 8 left. Dinke, this bull, just likes to act recklessly, so just send a few clones to fight him. The terrifying fluctuations are divided into 2 battlefields. Soon, almost the entire town of Auguste knew the news. The Ding family and Francis College were facing each other, and the 2 sides were fighting on the street. You are just a guard of the Berek Kingdom, and you dare to insult me. Today, I will let you know what is high and deep. Gurgle, gurgle. It seems to be the sound of birds. With the bumps, Hongjun rubbed his head, and slowly sat up. The ground seemed to be vibrating, the surrounding walls were very close, and the moonlight refracted through the sand curtain. Why am I in the carriage? After carefully examining his body, he found that the wounds were all treated with medicine, and his clothes were changed into a brand new one. Although they were a little ill-fitting, they were still quite attractive. After all, I'm too handsome, there is really nothing I can do. Mei Xiaopang quietly looked through the curtain, and looked at the back of the driver. It seemed a little familiar, and when he saw the side face, he recognized it. Isn't this the Dean of Teaching Ardino at the beginning of the new semester? The well-behaved nephew of Teacher Shire, who has not married yet in his 30s, and is a free good man who devotes himself to the cause of education. Get up when you wake up. There's food in the carriage. Eat some. Aldino continued to drive the carriage without looking back. He had sensed it when Ma Xiaopang sat up. It will take us another half a month to get there. You should stay here honestly during this time. Half a month. Hongjun was shocked and asked hurriedly, where are we going? Aldino rolled his eyes and whispered, where else can we go? Of course, we are going to the Spirit Hall headquarters. To the Spirit Hall? He remembered that when he fainted, he seemed to be going to ask Dean Doyle and others for support. Where's the teacher? Where's the master? How are they? How's the Ding family doing now? You have so many questions. Hurry up and sit back. Don't disturb me while I'm driving the carriage. Aldino was originally staying in school, but who knew that a few people in the ancient capital suddenly carried in a bloody wounded person. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be his aunt's apprentice. This little fat guy. Aldino's first reaction was, well beaten, I'll let you be naughty all day, and now you're being beaten? However, after Gudu's explanation, Aldino's eyes became serious. His aunt was careless and didn't like to ask too much about the outside world, but he knew it. The Ding family was far more than he imagined. How dare the Ding family be so presumptuous in the small town of Yagus? Do they really think they don't know that his aunt and Uncle Doyle and others are from the Spirit Hall? I'm afraid they know, but they don't care too much. After all, the town of Yaga still belongs to the Berek Kingdom. If they want to manage it, it should be the Xiandao Empire, not this so-called Soul Master organization. Don't worry, they are fine. When we left, Uncle Doyle had already brought people to support them. Aldino said lightly. Besides, the Berek Kingdom is just a vassal of the Xiandao Empire. Even the people of the Xiandao Empire are respectful to the people of the Spirit Hall. A little Barak. He doesn't have the courage. Oh. Hongjun was stunned. It seems so. He remembered that in the Douluo animation, even the royal family of the Xiandao Empire was very respectful to the elders from the Spirit Hall. What about my parents? Aldino said impatiently. You little fat boy are so troublesome. You love to make trouble at such a young age. Now you know to worry about your parents? Hongjun couldn't refute. Thinking carefully, he came to this world, and it was indeed too smooth. He thought that the time traveler was just a cheating and crushing, fearless, and lucky, but he forgot that this Douluo world is a world where martial arts is respected, and the aristocracy rules. It is countless times more cruel than imagined. It's all my fault. Hongjun was a little depressed. In his previous life, he was a famous martial artist. Thinking about his pride and complacency at the time, if he hadn't been too forgetful, how could he be successfully attacked by such a person? Obviously, he had learned a profound lesson, but why did he forget the lesson so quickly, after living a new life? The parents and sister in this world are innocent. They are just an ordinary family. They have no ability to resist the persecution of Soul Masters. Aldino saw this, and did not continue to mock him. Instead, he comforted him. Well, you are a man, why should you be sad? I have arranged everything before I leave. Someone will go to your village to pick up your parents. But we can't always let them hide. Now there is a good way. It depends on whether you are willing to work hard. What way? Hongjun's eyes lit up. Where you are going now, can it be called the safest place in the whole continent? Aldino glanced back at him with a smile. Are you talking about Wuhan City? Hongjun's eyes lit up at first, but then he thought of something and said helplessly, but I heard that the rules of Wuhan City are very strict, and you need to meet many requirements before you can live in Wuhan City with your family. You are stupid, you can't. Can't your master and grandmaster? Aldino continued like a fool, and the Wuhan Hall has great preferential treatment for the younger generation. With your talent and age, as long as you perform well, after going to the Wuhan Hall, you can infiltrate the elite team of the younger generation of the Wuhan Hall. Once you are trained, you are only allowed to bring your relatives to live in the Wuhan Hall, and the houses are provided free of charge by the Wuhan Hall. After hearing this, Hongjun pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement, and said, although this seems a bit like disguised house arrest, it is still a good place to go. Once I live in Wuhan City, I basically have no worries. Chapter 54, Wuhan City. Along the way, the scenery is beautiful. There are mountains and water, charming villages, and bustling cities. Different places have different customs and environments, and the beauties they produce have their own strengths. To sum it up, the local water and soil nurture the local people, and each has its own characteristics. Unfortunately, Majiadapang is only 7 years old, so he can only enjoy the feast for his eyes. In the morning, when he woke up from the hotel, Majiadapang was helpless. He had insomnia, which was rare. He almost didn't sleep all night. The evil fire in his body was suppressed again and again, and he almost broke free. After Majiadapang finished breakfast, it took a long time for Aldino next door to come out of the room yawning, and he looked very weak. And soon after, a bunny girl with a gorgeous smile and heavy makeup also walked out of the room with a small waist twisting, her eyes watery. Brother, welcome to come next time. You are awesome. I will give you a 30% discount next time. The bunny girl raised her red lips and left a big stamp on Aldino's forehead. Then she swung her bunny tail and went downstairs. Aldino laughed obscenely and was about to go downstairs when he found that his stomach was hit hard. Do you want to stay for 2 more days? I will give you a discount. Ahem. Aldino coughed twice with emotion. He didn't care that Majiadapang kicked him. Instead, he pretended to be calm and said, you are really tired from driving the carriage these days. You are still injured. It is not suitable for you to travel long distances for too long. Otherwise, let's stay here for 2 more days. Well, is this the reason why you tossed all night? Hongjun looked puzzled. He really wanted to hit this guy twice more. How do you know that? Artano was shocked at first, then he shouted angrily, what a crappy hotel, no soundproofing at all. What the hell is this luxury suite? Artano pretended to go downstairs, ready to find the front desk clerk to settle the score. His image as an excellent teacher was ruined just like that. You made too much noise. Can you blame the store owner? Fat Ma mocked silently. You really know how to play, teacher. The bunny girl's scream is not as loud as yours. People who don't know would think you are downstairs. Brat, are you looking for a fight? Artano's face flushed. He hadn't played for a long time and was a little excited. He didn't even know how many degrees he opened last night. Okay, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Hongjun waved his hand helplessly. Since you are so energetic, I think you don't need to eat breakfast, right? Let's go. Let's set off early. It was agreed that we would arrive in 15 days, but 14 days had passed, but we had only traveled 2/3 of the way. Ardino would stay in every town or city he passed, and he had to rest for at least a day. Go and drive the carriage out. I'll go have breakfast and come out soon. Ardino was too lazy to pay attention to this precocious little fat man. He consumed too much energy last night. If he didn't eat something to replenish himself, his body would not be able to bear it. Soon, the carriage set off again. The Kingdom of Berek and the Spirit Hall are located in the east and west, respectively, and are far apart. It is not easy to get there just by thinking about it. This is why Shire and Doyle, who are members of the Spirit Hall, are doing nothing all day to run the academy. After all, the Emperor is far away, and they can't control it, even if they want to. By the time they get the mission notification, it's too late. If there is another escort mission, they may not know when the person will die. I smiled triumphantly. Smile. Ardino, who enjoyed a wonderful breakfast, seemed to be in a particularly cheerful mood. The sturdy horse twisted its hips and ran wildly while he sat in the carriage, waving the small whip in his hand wantonly, listening to the horse's roar and running on the pipeline. Ugh, can you slow down? Ma Xiaopang originally sat cross-legged, wanting to practice soul power in his spare time. But not long after, he felt something was wrong. What the hell was this wave after wave? At this time, he felt like he was back to his childhood, when his father lifted him up high and threw him into the sky, caught him and threw him again, and soon his stomach was churning. Okay, Ardino responded, but just as he finished speaking, he swung the whip in his hand even harder. You beast. I don't know how long they ran on the official road. Seeing that it was getting dark, Ardino just stopped the carriage with a sound. Hongjun jumped down holding the handlebars and sat on the ground, feeling dizzy. Not to mention practicing, he felt that he was going to be sick. Stinky boy, did you experience this feeling of running freely today? Ardino tied the horse and walked over with a smile. Please spare me, Teacher Ardino. If you run like this, I'm afraid we will die before we reach our destination. Ma Xiaopang picked up a pile of firewood nearby with emotion, and then flicked his fingers, and a ball of fire fell on the firewood and ignited it. Bring the horse over. It's winter now, and the cold will probably be more severe in the morning. Ma Xiaopang was also a little angry. Could it be that the horse is a different breed? It has been running since morning and I haven't heard it at noon. Isn't this horse tired? Hongjun was very confused. Winter was dry. In his world, even a strong horse could not travel long distances, let alone drag a huge carriage. Thinking of this, Hongjun couldn't help but reach out to touch it. As soon as he reached out, a big hoof flew over. Oh my. The round little body flew over the tall treetops under the fiery red of dusk, and then fell lightly. Poor blue silver grass, even in winter, it was tenaciously alive, stretching its waist wantonly, but it fell down in pieces when pressed by Ma Xiaopang's tiger body, completely losing its vitality. My old waist. In this way, driving a carriage, the 2 people and 1 horse ran for another 3 or 6 days, before arriving at a magnificent city. From a distance, it looked like a technological federation standing in the future. The combination of countless metals and alchemy technology made an already magnificent city become like a prosperous imperial capital that people looked up to. Look, that's Wuhan City, where the Wuhan Pope's palace is located. The current Pope Bibidong has made this city more prosperous. Aldino pointed to the tall city clearly visible in front of him, his eyes full of yearning, especially when he mentioned Pope Bibidong. His eyes were full of admiration. Hongjun couldn't help but say, "No way, Mr. Aldino, you don't like His Holiness the Pope, do you?" Aldino's old face turned red. He coughed twice, pretending to be calm and said, "What do you know? The current Pope is a combination of wisdom and beauty, and his strength has reached the level of title Douluo early on. He can be said to be a natural ruler. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 55. First meeting with Hulina. Remember to show your Spirit Hall ID card later. It has your spirit power information on it. As long as you confirm that the spirit power fluctuation is consistent with your own, you can enter. Aldino pointed to the long queue outside the spirit city and said, "Is it so troublesome to enter the city?" Marziapang stood on tiptoe and looked at the long queue in front of him, feeling helpless. "This is too terrible. If you leave the city in the morning, you have to come back at noon. Otherwise you may not be able to enter after dark." Aldino said with a smile, "It's not as complicated as you think. This is only for new spirit masters. After you go to the registration office in the city to make a record, you don't have to queue in this long queue in the future." Marziapang was even more surprised. "No way, did I just happen to meet him, or are there so many people here every day? Where do so many new soul masters come from?" Aldino explained, "In recent years, the strength of our spirit hall has expanded more and more rapidly. Not only do we recruit newly awakened soul masters, but a large number of free soul masters have also chosen to join us under the recruitment of external personnel. And the end of the year happens to be the annual newcomer selection ceremony of the Spirit Hall. The competition lasts for half a month, and finally the most talented people are selected to form the new generation team of the Spirit Hall." The Spirit Team? Hongjun thought. He remembered that in the Shrek 7 Devils competition, the last team to win was the Spirit Team, a Soul Master team led by Hulina, Ziyu and Yan, the three strongest of the new generation. When the three participated in the competition, their soul power reached more than level 50, and they were definitely powerful Soul Kings. In Hongjun's vague memory, Hulina seemed to be specially recruited in her hometown, and finally her talent was noticed by Bibidong, who took her as a personal disciple. Judging from the time, the Spirit Team selection this time is likely to be the team formed by Hulina and others. Should I find a way to join it? Once you join the new generation of the Spirit Hall, you will definitely face Tangson and others. As a traverser, I don't believe I can't beat you. It's decided. The next goal is to stand out in the competition and join the golden generation of the Spirit Hall. Ahem. I heard that Miss Hulina's spirit is a fox, which is naturally charming. I don't know if it can seduce me. It was almost dark when Aldino drove the carriage leisurely into the Spirit City. There was no need for Aldino to introduce the interior of the Spirit City. After all, Marziapang was sitting outside, looking around with his eyes shining. "Wow, hello, beautiful sister." Passers-by around looked at me sideways. "Aldino, I don't know this little fat guy well." Aldino pulled the curtain to cover his face. "You are a little kid. How old are you? And you know who is a beauty?" Aldino took a quick glance. She is indeed a little beauty. The woman had yellow curly hair, which fell naturally around her waist, and her knee-length skirt swayed, as if dancing in the wind. Her eyes seemed to be blinked by a seductive vixen, as if she could seduce people's souls, and her pretty face was filled with a hint of displeasure. It was obvious that Marziapang's voice was very loud, and she heard it. "Who is this person? How dare you be rude to our Nana?" A young man following the woman was very angry, with his long red hair sticking up in the air, ready to step forward and teach the rude man a lesson. "Forget it, Yan. He is just a little kid. Why are you so excited?" The man who was walking with the young beauty stretched out his hand and grabbed the impulsive red-haired boy. What do you mean forget it? He is clearly teasing. The red-haired man was irritable and obviously still a little angry. Don't you have a childhood, ZU? That little fat boy looks like he was 5 or 6 years old. What did we know at that time? Don't really treat him as a little kid. The red-haired man became more and more angry. His martial soul was Yama. Not only was he irritable, but he was also very narrow-minded, especially towards the girl he liked, Hulina. If anyone dared to pay attention to her, he would fight to the death. Ahem. I'm sorry, everyone. The little guy just came here and didn't know anything. I apologize to him and you. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to give in, Aldino hurriedly tried to smooth things over. He has been around for decades, and this age is not in vain. Even if his strength is not good, he still has a good sense of judging the situation. Although these little guys in front of him don't look very old, don't you see that they are accompanied by guards when they go out? You know, this is Wuhan City. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the safest place in the whole continent. Even if it is the powerful upper 3 sects, do you think their people dare to come here to cause trouble? Judging from the clothes these young people wore, it was obvious that they were from the spirit hall. Seeing that the red-haired man was still angry, the beautiful girl next to him waved her hand. Forget it, Yan. He has apologized. My teacher finally gave us a night off. It's not easy to come out. Don't waste time here. Yan, ZU? Question mark? Nana? The girl in front of him is the future successor of the spirit hall? Ma Xiaopang's red hands were a little confused. He had thought of many scenes of encountering this beauty, but he had never thought of this. Before he even started, he had already set a trap for himself as a scumbag. The difficulty was directly raised to the hell level. This is not his world. The more scumbag you are, the more girls like you. This is not the case in the world of Douluo. The more scumbag you are, the more likely you will be dragged to the corner by girls and beaten up. For example, the 8-section blast is simply a special move to create disabled people. Thinking of that terrifying posture, Ma Xiaopang couldn't help shaking his head repeatedly. It doesn't matter if he doesn't know a girl like Xiao Wu, she's too cruel. Looking at the graceful back that was gradually going away, Ma Hongjun couldn't help but sigh. I don't know what Tangsun is thinking about. Although Hulina was only 11 or 12 years old at this time, her curves had already been perfectly formed. No wonder Yan, who was still young, fell in love with her. You should be careful here. Wuhan City is not like other places. There are many strong people. Maybe the one you meet inadvertently may be a soul emperor or even a soul saint. Walking on the bustling streets of Wuhan City, Aldino drove the carriage while explaining seriously. Soul emperor, soul saint? Ma Hongjun was a little puzzled. Isn't it said that there are only a few strong people? Why can we see them everywhere here? Aldino pondered for a moment and then said, this world is far more complicated than you think. What you know is just what the world wants you to know. You are still young. There are some things that you don't need to interpret, let alone understand. Chapter 56 Registration. Comfortable. Lying on the soft bed, Ma Hongjun hugged the quilt with a look of enjoyment. These days, he had been sleeping in the open air. Although he had a fire attribute martial soul, his body's ability to resist the cold was still limited without using soul power. This is your teacher's property. You can live here with peace of mind. When your teacher and master come back, they will come to find you. Aldino walked in without knocking, and then threw a bag over, making a clanging sound. Here, this is all. You should save some money. When your master and others come back, he will make his own arrangements. You want to leave? Ma Hongjun sat up from the bed, weighed it carefully, and nodded with satisfaction. Are you leaving now? Or should we go have a nice meal as a farewell to you? Well, you treat me. Aldino, you little brat, do you know that you really deserve a beating? Ma Hongjun opened his big curious eyes and asked in confusion, really? I didn't feel it? Forget it. I'm too lazy to argue with you, little fat boy. If you don't change your bad habits after coming to Wuhan City to practice, you will suffer. Aldino waved his hand and said angrily, eat slowly by yourself. I'm tired after driving for several days. I'll take a day off today and go back tomorrow. There are a lot of things in the academy. I don't know how many things have been piled up for me to deal with during this period of time. Then you should leave quickly, Teacher Aldino. Go back and get busy, otherwise you will not be able to get by without the academy. Ma Xiaopang smiled and waved his hands repeatedly, and lay down again without saying a word. You. Aldino paused as he had just stepped out. It seems that before we leave, the teacher has to teach you a lesson. What are you going to do? In the early morning, the dazzling sunlight refracted in, and Aldino drove the carriage and headed out of the city facing the rising sun. What is this? However, after just a few steps, he accidentally found a letter under the cushion. From Teacher Aldino himself. The content of the letter was very long, mainly thanking Aldino for taking care of him during this period of time. It looked simple, but occupied 2/3 of the whole letter. At the end of the letter, Hongjun hoped that he could help take care of his family, and when he was stable, he would find a way to take them over. This stinky boy, at least he still has a conscience. As soon as Aldino left the city, he swung the small whip in his hand and hit the horse's buttocks with a snap. The horse immediately neighed and ran wildly on the road. Go. On the empty balcony, a light layer of snow had already accumulated, and Ma Xiaopang had already climbed out of bed, twisting his body, waving his fists, and started his morning exercise. When he closed his fists, he looked at the distant sky and murmured, Dad, Mom, Sister Xiaoxio, you must wait for me to come back safely. The Ding family, which is obviously just a family in a small town, is actually connected to the Berek Kingdom, and there are even Seoul Douluo level existences. This is something Ma Hongjun never expected. Wait, you'd better pray that you can live well. When I come back, I will let you know what revenge is. In Wuhan City, as soon as the sky brightened, the streets were full of smiling people coming and going. Most of them are just ordinary family members. When their relatives joined the Wuhan Hall, they also took them over. After all, the Wuhan Hall headquarters is here, and safety can be fully guaranteed. Walking on the bustling streets, looking at all kinds of vendors, and all kinds of food from this world. It must be said that the difference in culture has created a variety of special food. For example, on the cart-sized flower, there are a bunch of little wings. The adults hold them and eat them, while the children can only hold them in their hands. It looks like a big pig's hoof. Delicious. Ma Xiaopang's mouth is full of oil. It must be said that the taste of the soul beast's braised wings is different. It tastes fat but not greasy, and the meat is delicate but tough. The most important thing is, there is a lot of meat. Now is the time to grow up. I must eat more. Soon, Ma Xiaopang carried large and small bags of delicacies on his shoulders and walked leisurely on the street. I don't know why there are so many geniuses these days. Think about after generations. It's rare for two to emerge every few years. The old man leaned on his crutches and walked leisurely while swaying, chattering with the old lady beside him. That's right. This year is even more terrifying. At such a young age, his soul power has reached the level of a great soul master. Think about me back then. I had just obtained my first soul ring at that time. The old lady also said with sincere emotion, recalling the past years. When she was young, she was also in her prime, but time makes people old. A generation of goddesses will eventually fall into the mortal world. Interesting. Is it the so-called Spirit Hall New Generation Selection Competition? Ma Hongjun smiled faintly, carrying large and small bags of snacks, walked up to her and asked, Hello, Grandma, are you talking about the Spirit Hall Arena Selection Competition just now? The old lady was still immersed in her memories. She was a little angry after being suddenly interrupted, but when she saw a cute little fat boy in front of her, she smiled and reached out to touch his head. Yes, it's the annual Soul Master Selection Competition. Anyone who is under 15 years old and has a soul power of 20 or above can participate. This damn head patting killer. Wow, there are a lot of talented soul masters there. Where are they, Grandma? Can you tell me where they are? I want to go and see them too. Ma Hongjun asked with a smile. The old man next to him thought and answered, Go straight ahead and turn left. That's the registration office for new students in the Spirit Hall. There are a lot of people there. If you want to join in the fun, you have to hurry up. If you're late, you won't be able to see it. Well, I'll go now. Hongjun nodded vigorously, quietly pulled his head back, and ran away quickly. This group of damn humans only know how to touch my head. My long red hair. If you continue to touch it like this, and each of you takes away a few strands, I will be bald sooner or later. Soon, Marzianapang arrived at the registration office. There are so many people. No wonder there are dozens of competitions in a single day for half a month. In the end, Marzianapang decided to go home and put his things away first. After all, he had bought them with money. It would be embarrassing if someone stole them later. This year's Soul Masters are really motivated. They are so enthusiastic to sign up one by one. The Soul Master in charge of registration sighed in a low voice. He was really exhausted in the past 2 days. What can we do? Last year, 3 top talents emerged. One of them, Hulina, was even accepted as a personal disciple by His Majesty. How can this group of young guys not be jealous? Yeah, that's true. I remember that the 3 of them seemed to be 12 years old. At such a young age, their spirit power has reached level 26. Their future prospects are really limitless. 3 people. I remember that Hulina seemed to be 6 years older than Tangsan. According to this calculation, they should be just 12 or 13 years old at this time. In the original novel, when Tangsan and others participated in the All-Continent Spirit Master competition, their strength reached the level of Soul Sect above level 40, and Hulina, Ziyu and others even reached the level of Soul King. At that time, Hulina and others seemed to be 5 or 6 years older than Tangsan and others. It should be them. Hongjun thought while queuing, and unknowingly it was his turn. Where did you come from, little guy? How old are you? How dare you sign up? Do your family members know? The registration officer at the side was stunned and waved his hands with an unhappy expression. He could tell Marzianapang's age at a glance. After all, his height was there, and he looked at most 5 or 6 years old. I'm 7 years old, and my soul power has reached level 24. Why can't I sign up for the new generation Soul Master selection competition? Marzianapang asked curiously. What did you just say? The 3 registration officers were stunned at the same time, looking at him with exaggerated expressions. Chapter 57, Proud Marzianapang. I said I'm 7 years old, not older than 15, and my spirit power is level 24, which means I've reached level 20 or above. I've met all the requirements. Marzianapang frowned, pretending to not understand, and said, Sir, you don't think I'm too old, do you? I'm only 7 years old. How can I look that old? The young spirit masters around were stunned. Are you considered old if you're over 15? Then what's the point of me being 14? I think you're a little too young. The registration staff on the side came to their senses and responded awkwardly. Is there a lower limit? No. The younger you are, the higher your talent is. What we want in the spirit hall is to select such talented spirit masters with high talent. The registration staff on the side waved his hands hurriedly. He didn't want the spirit hall to miss a genius because of him. If the superiors knew about it, he would be in big trouble. Are you really level 24? Another registration staff frowned, obviously unconvinced. Really, anyone who lies to you is a puppy. Marzianapang roared confidently. Stretch out your hand, so I can see it. As the registration office, several Soul Kings all have their own unique ways. After a little exploration, they nodded and said, from the perspective of physique, he is indeed a good seedling, and his age is indeed as he said, he should have just turned 7 years old. But as for soul power, let's test it with the test ball. Is there a problem? Another registration staff member's face suddenly became unhappy. He subconsciously thought that the fat boy in front of him continued to falsely report his strength. No. The instructor who touched the hand replied in a daze. It's just a little too unbelievable. A 7-year-old great soul master is really a little too unbelievable. 24th level at the age of 7? How is it possible? It must be fake. Even the legendary innate full soul power genius can't practice so fast. I think it's fake. The conversation between the several people was not small. Soon, the news that Marzianapang reached the 24th level at the age of 7 spread among a group of young soul masters. Almost no one was willing to believe it. If this is true, it would be really depressing. It's not confirmed yet. Several teachers seem to be going to get the soul test ball. Humph, it must be fake. This little fat guy really doesn't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. He comes here to cheat people. If he is found out later, he will definitely be in trouble. Obviously, most of the young soul masters did not believe it. They thought it was nonsense. A 7-year-old kid came here to pretend to be an elephant. However, soon, everyone present was not calm. The soul test ball flashed with dazzling light. Counting the soul power threads inside, there were exactly 24. This little fat guy did not lie. He really has level 24. Go and inform the elders. I think they should be very happy to hear this good news. The older teacher was the first to react. Such a genius, let alone the elders. I'm afraid that even the old priests in the main hall will shamelessly come to snatch the apprentice. If the girl who was accepted as a disciple by His Holiness the Pope last year was a genius, then the one in front of him could be said to be a monster. At least in his knowledge, there seemed to be no such gifted spirit master in the whole continent. You should have full innate spirit power, right? Keebin asked casually. Yes, that's right. Hongjun nodded proudly. Normal, unless you say that you have awakened to level 20. I won't be surprised by anything you say. Keebin waved his hand and told him to wait in the back. The registration was no longer a problem. The next step was to wait for which elder to arrive first after hearing the news. I hope that person will arrive first. Even if they belonged to the same spirit hall, they had their own strength distribution inside, including honorary vice elders, worshippers, and the Pope. The larger an organization is, the more complicated its factions will be. You've already signed up. Why do you want to stay? Ma Xiaopang was a little unhappy. Then he seemed to think of something, took out his identity badge and said, I have joined the spirit hall a long time ago, and I have a master. Oh. Keebin was shocked. Then why are you here to participate in the Spirit Hall's freshman selection? In his opinion, since you have already joined the Spirit Hall, you must have been accepted as a personal disciple by an elder or even a worshipper, and internal personnel like this have connections, so there is no need to sign up here. Is that so? I don't know. Ma Xiaopang suddenly realized Keebin speechlessly. Who is your master? You may not know my master, but you may have heard of my master's grandfather. His name is Dalu, and he seems to be the honorary vice elder of our spirit hall. Dalu. Keebin fell into thought. The young mentor on the side bumped Keebin's arm and whispered, have you forgotten that there is a vice elder besides Mo Douluo, named Dalu? Oh, I remember. Keebin suddenly realized. He remembered that there was indeed such a vice elder. You said you are his disciple. Yes. Hongjun nodded vigorously, smiling. Keebin was a little bit unbelievable. Such a little monster was just accepted like this? However, as the conversation between Keebin and Ma Xiaopang spread, the young spirit masters around were shocked one by one. What did you say? What did that kid say just now was true? 7 years old, 24th level great spirit master. What is his martial spirit? What a monster. Listening to the increasingly uncontrollable discussion behind him, Ma Xiaopang suppressed his laughter and coughed twice in a pretentious manner. Ahem. Cough. Everyone, be quiet, don't make a fuss here. If you make the adults unhappy later, be careful that they will cancel your quota. The scene was suddenly quiet. You, get out of here quickly, don't be an eyesore here. When did I say this? The people in front of me are the future of the spirit hall. Are you trying to help me offend them all at once? Great. Ma Xiaopang grabbed the number plate, squeezed through the crowd, and disappeared from everyone's sight. It turned out to be this kid. At this time, Ziyu was standing aside, watching every move in the crowd. He was on duty today. After becoming a member of the Spirit Hall, in addition to practicing every day, he must also complete the annual quota tasks. Fortunately, they are in a stage of rapid growth in strength, and only have some simple tasks. I didn't expect it. I saw him slacking off last night and thought he was an ignorant little fat boy. Who would have thought that he was a freak with higher talent than his sister? Ziyu looked at the disappearing back with a serious look in his eyes, and said to himself, it seems that the days to come will not be so boring. Chapter 58 Preliminary Round. Just like that, 3 days passed, and the sky was full of white snow, which had completely covered the dazzling light of Wuhan City. During this period, people from the Wuhan Hall had come to find him, but after confirming his identity, they all returned disappointed. Bear Demon Douluo, the third elder of the Wuhan Hall. Another titled Douluo. There is no shortage of titled Douluos in the Wuhan Hall. Take the Hidden Haoshan sect for example, there are still 7 or 8 titled Douluos, not to mention the Wuhan Empire that almost ruled the entire Douluo continent. Recalling carefully, there are 12 elders and 7 worshippers in the Wuhan Hall alone, not to mention the deputy elders, a powerful pope, and the forces that Moksha has won over. The reason why they were not mentioned in the later period of Douluo is mainly because Tangsun was so powerful, after returning from the Sea God Island, that most of the titled Douluos were no match for him. In addition, after becoming a god, the absolute crushing power of these titled Douluos no longer posed a threat to him. The only obstacle is that Bibidong and Kan Rinksu have become powerful gods, so there is no literary mention of the subsequent collision between the empires. The cruelty of the war is probably beyond imagination. It may be possible to describe it as a river of blood. After all, it is normal to have mountains of corpses and seas of blood in this cruel world. In a blink of an eye, it is the 4th day. Today is the day of drawing lots. The venue and the number of matches are determined according to the number. Only the winner can continue to advance. Even if Marzianapang showed a little monster-like talent on the day of registration, he still has to speak with strength. Without hard power, everything is empty talk. In this world, where force is supreme, there is not much value in the show. There are more and more people every year. At this time last year, I remember that there were only 2/3 of the people here. This year, there are more than 100 people. Ziyu stood on the high platform, observing every move below, and couldn't help but sigh. He and his sister Hulina participated last year. In the end, the 3 of them stood out in the competition, and became the 3 strongest people of the new generation. Because of her special spirit, her sister was accepted as a personal disciple by the Pope, and enjoyed unlimited glory. Ziyu, is what you said last night true? That little fat boy is actually at level 24. Yan, who was standing by, was searching in the crowd. After Ziyu returned last night, he informed the 2 of them of the news, but Yan was unwilling to believe that a little fat boy who was 6 years younger than him was almost as strong as him. Several instructors personally checked and tested it. There must be no mistake. Ziyu glanced at him indifferently. 7 years old and level 24. Has such a genius appeared in our spirit hall in the past 1000 years since its establishment? Ziyu and Yan shook their heads, indicating that they had never heard of it. Hulina stared at the crowd below with her beautiful eyes, whispering, "Or, has there been another monster who has cultivated so fast on the Douluo continent? It should be, there is." Even Yan was a little confused. He thought he was a genius among 10,000, but who would have thought that he would suffer a blow? Whether it's a mule or a horse, we'll know after a walk. I want to see how he performs in the ring. At this time, Marzianapang was walking through the crowded crowd. Don't push, you adults. Aren't you just a child participating in a competition? Do you need to be so enthusiastic? Compared with those big and strong men, Marzianapang's flesh was not enough to show off. He entered the venue in an orderly manner, but the gate was extremely chaotic. Where did you come from, little brat? This is not the place for you. Get out of here. A sturdy man pushed Marzianapang with his butt, almost knocking him over. Where did you come from, you rascal? I'm a participant in the competition. Be careful or I'll sue you. As he said that, he took out a number plate from his pocket and swayed it against the big man's face. See clearly. What is this? The big man looked closely and saw number 250. Wow, it really is. How can this competition be run like this? Can people like this participate? He subconsciously thought that Hongjun was an old guy with dwarfism. So, is that not possible? I'm here for the championship. Hongjun jumped up proudly, raised his butt, and bumped into the big man's abdomen, almost knocking him over. Why are you squeezing me? Don't you know what kind of character you are? You actually want to take advantage of me? Who took advantage of you? You gossip. Please explain clearly. Who else could it be if not you? The big man was entangled by a 200-pound auntie. When he turned around, he found that the chubby figure had long disappeared from the crowd. This little fat guy runs really fast. Ma Xiaopang squeezed through the crowd and showed his number plate. The routine inspection personnel checked him and allowed him to draw a data after confirming that it was correct. The 6th round of the 6th ring. Ma Xiaopang looked at the process not far away and read a row of information. Oh, it's quite fast. It's my turn in the afternoon. Ma Xiaopang was scheduled for the afternoon. His opponent was also confirmed. She was a woman named Zhao Wang. It's a bit too much. Am I going to be cruel to a young man? The competition started in the afternoon. There were 9 rings in the whole venue. The big ring in the middle was only for the strong and was usually closed. After Hongjun returned to his residence, he changed into a tight and handsome outfit and combed his hair into a handsome big back. Then he went to a restaurant outside for a full meal and officially entered the venue. As the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. Although it was a battle between a group of underage children, they were also a group of great spirit masters. Who knows what strange martial spirits and strange spirit skills will suddenly appear. It's always right to know more. Well, this girl is not bad. Not bad. Not bad. If these long legs are, this small waist, 180 degrees, a unique skill. Ma Xiaopang walked back and forth to watch the competitions in each ring while commenting with interest. The martial arts competitions in this world are not like his world. Men and women are separated because of their physical differences and are divided into men's teams and women's teams. But this world is different. Soul power almost makes up for all the differences. Of course, auxiliary soul masters without combat power are a different matter. They are specially assessed by professional soul masters. After all, a soul master team must not only have strong attacks, but also control, defense, and healing. Only with reasonable combinations can they maximize their respective roles. 6th match, all players get ready. Oh, it seems to be my turn. Ma Xiaopang trotted all the way to the number 6 ring, and with a light jump, he landed steadily on the ring. Chapter 59, a resounding name. Whose kid is this? Hurry up and drag him back. This is a competition. The referee was stunned for a moment, then immediately shouted angrily. His first reaction was that some kid had accidentally come up. I'm Hongjun. Oh, you are Hongjun. The referee was a little bit unbelievable. Isn't this just a 6 or 7-year-old kid? I remember that the conditions were clearly written. How can he participate? That's right. Imagining the posture of the old Taoist priest he had seen on the top of Wudang Mountain, Hongjun raised his legs high and did a split. One hand raised along his legs and the other hand lifted up his handsome long red hair. No way. My opponent is you? The young and beautiful girl on the opposite side waved her hands in disdain, but a barely noticeable smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. This time it's safe. Not only can she win easily, but she can also save energy. Little sister, your smile. I saw it. Hongjun put down his legs, put away his exaggerated expression, and smiled evilly. I wanted to show some mercy and save your face, but your expression really makes me angry. The contemptuous and sarcastic expression reminded Hongjun of a bad past. Although it was another life, everything that happened yesterday was still vivid in his mind. Just you? Are you worthy? The melon seed-faced girl sneered. In her opinion, even if you barely reach the level of a great soul master, it would be at most level 21, and I'm level 23. Not only do I have more soul power than you, I also have more experience than you, and my martial spirit is a control type. What can you use to fight me? Hongjun smiled and said, why don't you try it and know? As soon as the referee announced the start of the game, Ma Xiaopang dodged and moved quickly on the court like a ghost. So fast. This time it was the melon seed-faced girl's turn to be shocked, but after all, she was from a soul master family, so she reacted quickly. Her martial spirit is Zuanshu, a control type soul master. When her first soul skill was used, Hongjun felt a chill all over his body, and a bunch of tentacle-like water columns quickly emerged from the ground and attacked him quickly. It's a bit interesting. This was his first direct battle with a control soul master. Even the former Merkin was defeated instantly by sneak attacks, without giving him any chance to use his skills. The opponent's soul skill seemed to have a locking effect. Even though Ma Xiaopang moved left and right, he was still caught up. The 4 streams of mysterious water were like ropes, binding his hands and feet. Ha ha ha, little fat man, don't think you can dodge it, just because you are fast. My first soul skill has a locking effect. You can't escape. The melon seed faced girl laughed up and pointed at the trapped Marzianapang with her hands on her waist, quite proud. It's a bit interesting. The referee on the side also laughed. The first soul skill has a locking effect, which is really rare. Marzianapang tried to break free with brute force, but the chain condensed by the mysterious water could actually stretch, and for a while he couldn't exert any force. Don't try, you can't get away. The melon-faced girl waved her hands, as if she was ready to use her second soul skill to quickly resolve the battle. Oh, really? Hongjun raised his head and stared at the melon-faced girl with a flash of red in his eyes. Then the soul power around him exploded, and it turned dark red. The referee's face condensed and whispered, "This is a high-level fire attribute." The dark red flame instantly evaporated, causing the temperature of the entire ring to suddenly rise by more than 10 degrees. The Zuanshu rope that bound Hongjun's hands and feet also melted in an instant. Water and fire are not compatible. Facing the top-level mutant fire attribute martial spirit, Zuanshu was like foam and disappeared in an instant. Marzianapang's body moved 3 times faster than not long ago. Little sister, your strength doesn't seem to be like this. I don't need to use soul skills to beat you. Marzianapang's voice rang in the ears of the melon-faced girl, but the melon-faced girl still maintained the starting posture of the second soul skill. Don't look down on me. Second soul skill, weak water. The melon-faced girl's soul power burst out, shaking Marzianapang away, and her body took 5 steps back and used her second soul skill. The ground softened instantly, like the surface of water, and Marzianapang sank in an instant. And as Marzianapang exerted more force, his feet sank deeper, like a quagmire. Now let's see how you break free. The melon-faced girl took a deep breath. If that brat hadn't wanted to tease her, she would have succeeded in her sneak attack. Marzianapang gave up struggling and laughed. Do you think I can't beat you like this? With the improvement of soul power and continuous training, he was able to use the martial arts that he had only touched Kan's hang. After integrating the martial arts body, martial arts, falling leaf palm, Hongjun seemed to be sending out a light palm print, but the moment he hit it, the airflow around him changed, as if a stream of heat was attacking the melon-faced girl. The melon-faced girl subconsciously wanted to raise her arm to resist, but the palm in the air was invisible. The whole force was like an enlarged palm. A faint red palm print could be seen falling. This huge palm directly squeezed the air and hit the melon-faced girl with the palm. The force was so great that she flew out unexpectedly. And because Hongjun's palm also carried the soul power of fire attribute, the melon-faced girl's hair had a burnt smell. Oh my god, this little fat guy is so powerful. Did you see it just now? He used an instant soul skill. The referee on the side frowned even more. He didn't have time to understand the previous attack. This little fat guy clearly didn't even release his martial soul, and his soul ring didn't appear. But how did he use his soul skills? Teacher, it's time to announce the winner, right? At some point, Marzianapang had already walked close to the referee. After the melon-faced girl was knocked out, the weak water could not get soul power replenishment and had dissipated on its own. Marzianapang leisurely threw a kiss on the ring. Oh, I declare that Hongjun wins this round. No way, this little fat guy has a trick, so powerful. The audience looked at him sideways and were surprised at the trick that Hongjun accidentally showed just now. Boy, was that your soul skill just now? Someone in the audience couldn't help asking. Marzianapang laughed, threw a wink at the beauty in the distance, and then turned his head and said, "Secret, no comment." In the next 2 days, Marzianapang participated in 7 more games. Shockingly, all the opponents he met were women. In addition to excitement, he also gained the reputation of being a ruthless flower destroyer. Look, isn't that a ruthless flower destroyer? As soon as Hongjun stepped onto the ring, someone threw him out. It's really him. This time the girl on the opposite side will suffer. Marzianapang's old face turned black, and he couldn't help shouting, "My nickname is the King of Guns, not the Ruthless Flower Destroyer." Look at that little pervert. It seems that he is still angry. However, no one paid attention to him. Didn't I just touch the girl's face? Besides, the girl was about to fall. Could I not help her? Is this also called touching the waist with dirty hands? If it doesn't work, you can call me Evil Fire Phoenix. Hongjun walked onto the stage with a sad face. Chapter 60, Bear Demon Douluo. It's you. When she learned the name of her opponent earlier, she felt familiar with him. Now that she saw him in person, she reacted immediately. It turned out to be that cruel and ruthless woman. Not long ago, she had secretly laughed at the unlucky women on the ring, but she never thought that she would meet him today. Hey, beautiful lady, you know me too. Hongjun smiled sweetly, revealing a row of white teeth. Little fatty, I won't let you succeed. The young woman in a green long dress looked ashamed and angry. In her eyes, the smile of the hateful little fat man was simply a naked mockery, not only in terms of strength, but also in terms of body and mind. It was really hateful. Teacher, I give up. The green-clothed girl raised her hand angrily and announced her defeat decisively. Before leaving, she glared at Ma Xiaopang fiercely and then jumped off the ring at a brisk pace. What? Ma Xiaopang stood in a daze in the distance, and his raised left hand had not been put down. I won already. No matter what, he would not admit that it was his handsome appearance that scared the girl. I'm a powerful young master, and the girl chose to surrender because she thought she was no match for him. It is normal. I declare that Ma Hongjun won this match. In the next few days, Ma Xiaopang's reputation became more and more famous. If he met a woman, he would definitely win. If he met a man, he would win even faster. In a blink of an eye, he flew off the stage. In these 7 days, Ma Xiaopang participated in 32 matches in a row, and he won all of them without losing a single match. More and more people began to notice him. Has this little fat guy used his second soul skill so far? On the high platform, Yan, Ziyu and Hulina stood side by side, watching the matches on the 9 stages. No, in the 32 matches, this guy seems to have used his first soul skill 9 times, and basically won by physical skills. Ziyu, as one of the supervisors of this assessment, had the right to view the information of the contestants, and he paid special attention to the gifted Ma Hongjun. Depending on physical skills, Yan was surprised. You mean he won purely by relying on his physical strength? Ziyu said indifferently. At present, it seems like this. Hulina stared at Ma Hongjun, who was competing in the audience. His speed was so fast that he didn't look like a strong attack spirit master at all, but more like a quick attack spirit master. You said his martial spirit is just a mutant turkey? Yes, a mutant martial spirit, originally just an ordinary chicken, but unexpectedly possessed the ability of top-level fire attribute. Ziyu replied. Mutated martial soul. Hulina continued to ask, will his martial soul have both the characteristics of agility attack and strong attack after mutation? Ziyu thought for a moment and replied, it is indeed possible. The innate mutation of martial souls is uncontrollable, and anything can happen. Yan, who was standing aside, hammered the railing angrily and gritted his teeth and said, even if he is a genius, he has teased our Nana, and I will make him pay for it. Hulina rolled her eyes at her and said with a smile, Yan, don't talk big. Judging from the strength shown by this little guy now, you are probably not his opponent. Hulina threw a coquettish eye at Yan and then walked down the stands with a sweet smile. Even though Hulina is only 13 years old now, her curvy figure has already been fully revealed. When she walked, she was swaying, and even the guards on the side couldn't help but secretly glance at her. Yan stared at Hulina's receding back, stunned for a moment, then hammered the railing again, glanced at the figure on the number 6 ring, and said angrily, Ma Hongjun, right? You wait for me. Sooner or later I will prove to Nana that I, Yan, am countless times stronger than a genius like you. Ziyu watched Yan's self-performance from the side, stroking his forehead with a sigh, and said speechlessly, what did I do wrong, that you are thinking about it? Even Ziyu, the peacemaker, couldn't help but feel sorry for Yan. He felt that one day he would not be able to help but pat Yan on the shoulder and tell him earnestly, give up, Yan, my sister doesn't like you. Stinky boy, others are afraid of you, but I'm not afraid of you. Today I will let you see what real fire is. Standing opposite Ma Xiaopang is also a teenager, 13 years old, with a soul power of level 23, a rare flame rat martial soul, and a strong attack spirit master. He was twice as big as Hongjun, and looked like a greasy fat man. His face was covered with pitiful acne, which showed that he was too hot-tempered. "Oh, what's your strength? Wait." Marzianapang sneered disdainfully. "You." Kamen's eyes seemed to be spitting fire. He had long wanted to fight with this Hongjun. As a fire-attributed strong attack spirit master and a fat man, why was her name remembered by so many girls? And he could only be abandoned in the corner and remain unknown. Today I will let these people know that I'm the genius who should be paid attention to and recognized. The game officially began. As soon as the voice fell, Kamini turned into a meatball, surrounded by flames, and suddenly crushed towards Marzianapang. First spirit skill, Flame Meat Bomb. The terrifying heat wave swept across, and the originally cold arena became warm in an instant. Even the crowd who were close to him could clearly feel the heat. Not only came from Kamini, but also from Marzianapang, who was wrapped in dark red soul flames. Marzianapang's use of soul power is no longer limited to the use of soul skills. As a time traveler and a martial artist who has seen Douluo continent, she has begun to study the use of soul power as early as the moment she awakened. The soul masters in this world have a great flaw, that is, they rely too much on soul skills. With soul skills, they don't even pay attention to the basic use of soul power. They only know to fight with soul skills, but don't know how to accurately use my soul power. At this time, Marzianapang, under the possession of the martial god body, his various attributes have been significantly improved, as if a part of the body that is missing has been supplemented. The operation of soul power and the rotation of the mind are unprecedentedly active. And the dozens of acupoints that were opened also emit a faint light, supplementing his body while absorbing the martial god body, making the body and the martial god body more firmly combined. "Then let me learn your tricks." Marzianapang sneered, and the flames around him compressed and compressed again, until finally it turned into a thin film that wrapped his whole body. The color of this film was deep, although different from black, but Marzianapang, who was shrouded in it, was still covered by it, and looked like an assassin walking in the shadows. Interesting. This little guy's getting more and more interesting. In the distance, a burly man laughed with his face up. Except for a long-haired man standing quietly around, the rest of the people hid in fear. This man was the third elder of the spirit hall, Bear Demon Douluo. "Dalu, your disciple is really surprising me more and more." The long-haired man standing next to him was Dalu not long ago. On his handsome face, a scar appeared at some point. Although the mark was very light, it was difficult to dissipate for a while. "Yes, when I first saw this brat, I was quite surprised." Dalu smiled faintly. Demon Bear Douluo looked meaningful and said, "No wonder you are willing to help him, even if it means disfigurement. This favor is really great." Douluo laughed and said, "Haha, I'm doing this for the spirit hall to recruit talents." Chapter 61. Fire Attribute Crushing. Do you need me to help you? Although Bear Demon Douluo looks ferocious, he is very gentle to his subordinates, and can even make a few jokes from time to time. This revenge will be avenged sooner or later, and there is no need for you, Elder, to do it. Douluo subconsciously touched the scar on his face. This scar was left by the man named Ada. If it weren't for the arrival of the elf guards of the Beric Kingdom at the last moment, he would have killed 2 people. Okay, with your talent, it is not impossible to become a titled Douluo. Then you can avenge this revenge yourself. Although Bear Demon Douluo is burly, his age is not much different from Douluo, and he was promoted to a title Douluo 10 years ago. His martial spirit, the Blood Demon Bear, is a bloodthirsty and cruel terrifying strong attack martial spirit that has frightened countless people. By the way, how is your female apprentice? Aren't you going to take her over this time? Demon Bear Douluo continued to ask. Douluo replied, "She still has some things to deal with, and I don't know what those little guys were thinking. They actually opened a college together, and it's run quite well. This brat was someone she accidentally met in the college a few days ago. Oh, it seems that your female apprentice is quite lucky," Bear Demon Douluo said with a smile. "He just has a bad temper. I originally thought that he should have married that guy named Doyle in recent years, but who would have thought that the two of them are still quarreling all day long and neither of them is willing to give in." They have such a bad temper. If it weren't for that little guy Foral playing peacemaker, the two of them might have fought in their own academy. No, this person's temper will be affected by his martial soul. I remember you said that her martial soul seems to be a blood leopard, which is similar to my blood demon bear. They both have hot tempers and can't help but get involved in everything. If something doesn't go their way, they won't give face, even if the king of heaven comes. The demon bear Douluo's real name is Zion Kishan. His parents are also from the spirit hall. Because of his outstanding talent since birth, he has been trained by the spirit hall at an early age. Forget it, let's not talk about her. It gives me a headache just thinking about it. Douluo waved his hand with a smile and said with a sad face, let's continue watching the game, sir. When it comes to being hot-tempered, this brat is no less than his master. Oh, really? Then I'll have to take a good look. Zion Kishan folded his arms and silently watched the ring not far away. On the number 6 ring, in addition to the huge figure like a fireball, there was also a human-shaped shadow moving quickly on the ring. Hongjun, who compressed and condensed his soul power outside his body, not only increased his speed, but also improved his resistance. When his hand touched the opponent's flame, it did not cause any damage to him. Take I style, 4 ounces to move 1,000 pounds. Hongjun pressed his legs down and twisted his body flexibly. Seeing the fireball coming, he twisted it away at a weird angle, and then he held his hands back and threw the huge spherical object out. Seeing that he was about to fall out, Kamini quickly cancelled the effect of the first soul skill, and then slapped the ground with his palm, barely stopping his body. What soul skill is this? Kamini turned around in astonishment, and saw that Ma Xiaopang was wrapped in a dark red substance, as if he was wearing a layer of protective clothing. For a moment, he didn't know how to attack. Who said that this is soul power, and can only be used to use soul skills? Hongjun waved his hand with a smile, and took off his soul clothes. You people, after all, are too dependent on soul skills. As soon as the voice fell, Ma Xiaopang rushed forward with his feet on the phantom step. Seeing this, Kamini quickly stretched out his hand to block. But Ma Xiaopang just gently stretched out a finger, and then poured soul power into one of his acupuncture points, which immediately made Kalman's whole body twitch and fall to the ground in pain. Sometimes the stronger the soul power, the better. Just now, I only used a tiny bit of soul power to knock you to the ground. Kamini endured the pain and got up from the ground, his fat body trembling. That was also your soul skill just now? No. Ma Xiaopang replied indifferently, but you can understand that this is my self-created soul skill. Self-created soul skill. Not only Kamini, but even the referee beside him exclaimed. What is a self-created soul skill? The audience who were close to the stage also heard it. Many people were a little confused. This term was very familiar, but they couldn't remember it for a while. It is to create a unique soul skill that belongs to oneself, by relying on one's own ability. How talented can one be to do this? Ma Xiaopang said calmly, it is just a soul skill, but it is composed of the special operation and arrangement of soul power, and finally combined with one's own characteristics, to form the so-called skills. As long as the control of soul power is more refined, then naturally different soul skills can be created. Hongjun had carefully studied and thought about soul skills. Soul power is just like the spiritual power he saw in novels in his previous life. Perhaps the entire Douluo continent is composed of soul power, which belongs to the power of the soul. Skills construct fire, wind, earth, water, and even can create food in a more elemental way. Just like Oscar can make big sausages, it can not only improve himself, but also fill his stomach. As for this kind of food type soul master, perhaps it is because of some of the characteristics of their martial souls that can convert soul power in that direction. But why can't others? In the final analysis, they are all derived from soul power, but the soul masters in this world have not yet discovered the arrangement. HMPH. So what if you created your own soul skill? My flame rat belongs to the earth fire, which is several times stronger than ordinary flames. I don't believe you can resist it. Kamini was obviously still unwilling to admit defeat. After standing up again, he summoned his martial soul again and launched a second attack. Second soul skill, Earth Explosion Magma. You really won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. feeling the strong rhythm of the ground, Ma Xiaopang couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The construction industry in this world is really profitable. Then he compressed his dark red evil fire again to wrap his whole body and then directly exploded his soul power, condensing the power on his fist and smashed his right fist directly to the ground. A terrifying wave came and the ground was directly torn apart. Then a terrible column of flames emerged and rushed up directly from Ma Xiaopang's feet. Not good. The referee subconsciously wanted to rescue, but after feeling the fluctuations inside, he held on. This little fat guy's really a monster. When the flame column slowly dissipated, the dark red figure was still squatting there, maintaining the posture of punching the ground with his fists. When he stood up and dispersed his self-protection, everyone realized that even the corners of his clothes were damaged. Impossible? Kamini looked at the little fat guy in front of him with dilated pupils, his face full of disbelief. That's the earth fire. Even if you are also a fire spirit master, the powerful fire impact cannot be easily resisted by the flesh. Ma Xiaopang stepped forward step by step, whispering, "Nothing is impossible. My martial soul is the top fire attribute Phoenix martial soul. How can your earth fire be compared with my Phoenix evil fire?" Ma Xiaopang stood on tiptoe, patted Kamini's greasy face, and then wiped it on his clothes in disgust. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Final. Do you want to continue the competition? Kamini sat down on the ground and raised his left hand in dejection. I admit defeat. He used 2 sets of explosive soul skills to attack, but he couldn't even force the opponent's soul skills. Obviously, the soul power is only 1 level different, but why is the strength gap so big? This is too discouraging. Is this how you practice? Kamini raised his head helplessly and asked. Can you not show an expression that you want to be raped? Ma Xiaopang threw his hand in disdain, with a look of disdain. Practice depends on talent. Practice is not just about self-cultivation, but also about practice. Theory is not useless. You can learn more about theory when you have time. Sometimes those with weak soul power can better understand the essence of soul power. Ma Xiaopang said, taking a vigorous step, twisting his plump buttocks, and jumped off the ring in a chic manner. This victory is his 33rd consecutive victory. As long as he plays for a few more days, he will be able to successfully enter the finals and successfully enter this new generation of Soul Master team. Oh, it's too easy. Are all the contestants this year so weak? Several contestants on the side accidentally heard Ma Xiaopang's muttering, and their faces suddenly changed. They were ready to teach this outspoken guy a lesson. However, a girl next to them pulled a few people with a pale face and whispered, "This boy's a ruthless and treacherous man. Let's not mess with her. Look at Sister Nap, she is so beautiful. What if he gets into trouble? Can you bear it?" Oh. The man's expression froze. Let's go. It's better to turn a deaf ear to it. After all, he really couldn't beat him, and giving up decisively was the best choice. Moreover, fighting was prohibited in Wuhan City. Once a fight occurred, after leaving the ring, the punishment was extremely severe. Hey, Sister Nap, what's wrong with you? Let's go. Zixi shook the woman's arm curiously. Interesting, this stinky boy actually came here? Sister Na smiled playfully, and then left with Zixi and others. This Sister Na was Verna with light blue eyes, who also came from Francis College. She was also one of the participants in this competition. She came to Wuhan City more than a month ago. Now she has 18 wins and 15 losses, and her record is considered to be a decent player. Hongjun turned back in a strange way, and happened to see Werner's waist-length light blue hair. He stared at her inexplicably for a while. I guess this girl must be pretty. Werner knew him, but unfortunately, Ma Xiaopang didn't know him. Even if they had met once, he had already forgotten it. After all, he had seen a lot of beauties these days, especially Hulina, who had her own charm skills, which made his vision rise to a higher level again. Forget it, it doesn't matter, if I look at it, I still don't care if I'm full. I'd better go back and get something to eat. My appetite is really getting bigger and bigger now, but my height is still growing so slowly. Ma Xiaopang touched his bulging belly and said with a droopy face, "It's all flat. The food in Wuhan city is very rich, not only from all over the country, but the biggest feature is the soul beast meat. Even poisonous spiders can be cooked into delicacies by them. For Ma Xiaopang, this place is simply heaven. Comfortable." Just like that, the selection competition that lasted for nearly half a month finally ushered in the finals. On the day of the finals, the 10 contestants will decide their rankings. The top 3 will not only be trained by the Spirit Hall, but also be awarded generous rewards. As the popular little fat horse in this competition, Ma Xiaopang has become one of the most popular contestants. Many outsiders have started gambling openly. Ma Xiaopang consciously found them and bet all his belongings on them. "I will win this time." Standing on the final stage, the 10 contestants are both men and women, but they are all tall. Only Ma Xiaopang is a bit different. He still looks like a little kid, although his body is indeed that of a little kid. Remember, this competition is limited to this point. For the sake of some of you becoming close teammates, don't leave any conflicts. The person who spoke was an elder. Hongjun didn't know him, but judging from his grey beard, he must be a veteran. After all, as a titled Douluo, his lifespan is much longer than that of ordinary people. The woman standing on the high platform wore a crown, a scepter, and a light green dress with sparkling pearls, which made her exude a noble and elegant temperament. Around him, there were a group of strong men. Hongjun also inadvertently caught a glimpse of his master Douluo and Hulina, who was holding the elegant woman. "Greetings to His Holiness the Pope." After seeing her slowly walk out, the crowd bowed and shouted "His Holiness the Pope." Hongjun followed suit, kneeling on one knee, putting his right hand on his chest, and bowed slowly. "Haha, I don't know what's wrong with you Xiao gang." He doesn't want to have such a beautiful woman, but is only interested in flirting with his own sister. "Everyone, get up." Bibi Dong gently waved her left hand, signaling everyone to get up quickly. Calculating the time, she had just eliminated the previous pope not long ago, and her great revenge was avenged. She also ascended to the position of pope. Although she was very imposing, it was still a short time, and she had not yet fully developed the power of a superior. This time, the competition focuses on selecting outstanding young talents. The 10 players on the field will be trained by the Spirit Hall, and the top 3 will receive additional rewards. "Everyone, give your all. Let me see if there is anyone in this new generation who will make me look at him strangely again." Bibi Don waved her scepter, and the angel statue suddenly burst into dazzling colorful light, like a gorgeous firework. Then next, the competition officially begins. The group competition will determine the final 10, and Verna has successfully made it into the top 10. She glanced at Ma Xiaopang with a playful look, and said with a smile, "Xiao Hongjun, I look forward to meeting you on the court." Oh. Ma Xiaopang looked at her with a puzzled look. "Do we know each other?" Verna's face fell, and she was about to cry. "Bad guy, have you forgotten me so quickly? I'm your senior sister. When you were competing with Dingning and the others, I was cheering for you off the court." "No way, you can even meet alumni?" Ma Xiaopang was stunned. It has been less than a month since he came from Francis College, and he met an acquaintance? So sad, I actually forgot about my senior sister. Verna pretended to wipe away tears. "I'm sorry senior sister, I tend to forget my brothers." Ma Xiaopang laughed. "Brother?" Verna was stunned, and then looked from Hongjun's eyes. This guy was actually staring at her chest. "No wonder people call you a ruthless person. You even didn't let go of my senior sister from the same hometown. It's really too much." Verna blushed and crossed her arms in embarrassment. "No, senior sister, I'm not very interested in the airport." Ma Xiaopang explained jokingly. "You." Although she didn't know what the airport meant, her intuition told her that it was definitely not a good word. Chapter 63 I want to fight to at once. Seeing that the senior sister was really angry, Hongjun quickly touched his forehead and apologized. "Don't be angry senior sister, I was joking with you. Aren't you afraid that there is nothing to talk about after not seeing each other for a long time? So I just deliberately livened up the atmosphere." "Oh, really?" Verna looked at her with disbelief. Really, senior sister, whether it is the airport or the peak, at least it is natural, and I love it. Ma Xiaopang looked around proudly, ignoring the shy appearance and angry hearts of the girls around him. Has anyone told you that, if you continue like this, sooner or later you will be beaten to death? Verna couldn't stand it. She regretted what she said just now. As a fellow countryman and senior sister of such a guy, will she still have friends in Wuhan City in the future? Follow your heart. What's wrong with that? Ma Hongjun shook his big red hair and looked at her with his eyes fixed. Although he was thinking in his heart, I'm thick-skinned, what can you do to me? But he said insincerely, only one can understand a person's true heart, so why bother about what others say? Verna stared at Ma Hongjun blankly. At this moment, she seemed to have truly recognized this short and fat man. So your mind is so open. Is this the reason why you practice so fast? Verna couldn't help asking. Ma Hongjun coughed dryly and said, you can understand it this way. As the saying goes, if there is no woman in your heart, you will be able to draw your sword naturally. The same is true for practice. If you are not disturbed by external things and your mind is calm and clear, you will naturally be able to practice with half the effort. Although I didn't quite understand it, I think I roughly understand it. Thank you for your guidance, Xiao Hongjun. Verna smiled and then walked to the draw place on the side. It's a pity that my first opponent is not you, senior sister. Come on, try to meet you in the end. Considering the soul power and physical consumption in the game, there will be 5 competitions in the morning, followed by the afternoon competition, and the finals will be held in the evening. Ma Xiaopang's opponent this time is another woman, and she is also a spirit master of the agility attack system. But his first soul skill has a locking effect. Under the interference of mixed attacks, the opponent was successfully attacked by Ma Xiaopang's first soul skill and successfully fell off the stage. Ma Xiaopang won easily. This kid hasn't used his second soul skill yet. It seems that he wants to keep his trump card. When it comes to the finals, maybe he can give everyone a surprise. Bear Demon Douluo raised his head and laughed. He really liked this little fat boy more and more. He was talented, knew how to hide his strength, and created his own soul skills at a young age. His future talent is limitless. Why is this little guy your disciple? Thorny Porpoise Douluo looked a little unhappy. Although he was the 4th elder, there had been no fresh blood in his sect for a long time. This time, he heard that a little monster had entered the ranks of great soul masters at the age of 7, so he decided to come out and take a look. If it is really as the following person said, then such a talented monster, I must snatch him away no matter what. Of course, he is Douluo's disciple. If he doesn't join my sect, can he be your disciple? Xiang Qishan retorted with an unhappy face. Aren't my disciples better than you, a bear? With your character, can you teach disciples? I think you'd better forget it. Don't waste other people's talents. Thorny Porpoise Douluo said with disdain. Xiang Qishan's face suddenly turned red with anger, and he roared, you old hedgehog, what, do you want to compete to see who is more suitable to be a disciple? Come on, I'm not afraid of you. Thorny Porpoise Douluo was not to be outdone, and raised his middle finger to vent his dissatisfaction. Okay, you two, you are both elders, and you are still quarreling like 2 old children in front of so many people. Aren't you ashamed? Bibi Dong frowned and walked over with a smile, quite helpless. They are obviously titled Douluo. Why do they like to throw tantrums for no reason? Greetings to His Holiness the Pope. Seeing Bibi Dong approaching, everyone hurriedly bowed. Elders, what are you arguing about? Bibi Dong saw the 2 elders arguing from a distance, and the people around did not dare to intervene, so she had to rush over quickly. It's all because of this old guy. He actually wants to steal my people. Xiang Qishan was the first to respond and attack. So that kid is your disciple. Has he joined? Do you have any evidence? Show it to me. Thorny Porpoise Douluo argued unconvinced. Xiang Qishan waved his arms, which were thicker than his thighs, and roared with his beard and eyes wide open. That kid is Douluo's disciple, and Douluo is my deputy elder. You old man, tell me, where else can he go if he doesn't come to my sect? Humph, it depends on their own choice. Why are you showing off there? Maybe they don't even look down on your broken temple. Your temple is a broken temple. Your whole family is broken. Who are these 2 elders talking about? Bibi Dong asked to Lena quietly. It should be the contestant named Hongjun. Hulina replied in a low voice. Oh, tell me, I want to know what's so special about him. Bibi Dong smiled inexplicably. And down below, the 5 games ended not long after, and Marzianapang was lucky again, and got a bye in the afternoon. Alas, people with good luck are different. It's a pity that I can't show my face in the afternoon. I don't know where I got a big chicken leg from. Marzianapang chewed on the big chicken leg while shouting excitedly. Come on, senior sister Werner, you are the best, beat that guy. Werner rolled her eyes at this shameless guy with anger. Shut up, you Marzianapang, don't affect my performance. She saw that this little fat guy couldn't be given face. The more face he gave, the faster he climbed. I'm cheering for you, senior sister Werner, you're too hurtful to say that. Get lost. Soon, the afternoon competition officially started, and the final winners turned out to be 2 women. One was senior sister Werner, and the other seemed to be called Fang Ying. She was a 12-year-old girl with proud peaks and curvy figure. Stinky boy, where are you looking? Werner glared at him. It was so embarrassing that she believed his words for so long in the morning. Okay, you 3 draw lots, compete for the top 3 rankings, and this freshman selection will be over. The old man who was in charge of drawing lots yawned and said, it was already night. If there was no tent on the top, I'm afraid the whole venue would have been covered with snow. Hongjun smiled and said, my lord, it's getting late, why don't we shorten the game? 3 games take too long, and I don't know how long it will take to finish them. Oh, so what you mean is? The person in charge looked over curiously. Ahem, I think they are all tired. Why don't I play 1 against 2? No matter who wins or loses, the 2 of them will play one last game to decide the other's ranking. The person in charge hesitated. It was obviously not in compliance with the regulations. Werner and Fang Ying also looked over with a bad look. They were being underestimated, and they actually wanted to play 1 against 2. It seemed that this guy was a bit too much. Okay, it's decided, I agree. At this time, a sound of footsteps sounded, and a group of people walked slowly towards them. Chapter 64 Pope Bibi Dong. Elder. The person in charge stood up stutteringly and saluted. Alright, why are you so polite? Hurry up and arrange things. Just follow what this kid said. The people who came were Zion Kishan, Douluo and others, and Thorny Paw Douluo followed closely behind. Boy, don't underestimate the girls. I also observed several of their battles. They are not weak. Are you sure you want to fight 2 at once? Thorny Paw Douluo smiled inexplicably, his eyes indifferent. Hongjun patted his chest and said, why hesitate? The 2 of them have participated in 1 more game than me, and their soul and physical strength are more consumed than me. If we fight 1-on-1, it will be unfair to them. Well, that's true. Let's do as you say. Thorny Paw Douluo also nodded in agreement. I want to see how strong you are. A little guy called a monster by Bear Demon. 2 elders, but this game. The person in charge hesitated. The Pope was also paying attention to this game. If he tampered with the rules of the game without authorization, he couldn't bear the consequences. Okay, let's do what this kid said. I want to see where this little guy got his confidence from. Bibi Dong also walked over slowly, surrounded by the crowd. As a titled Douluo, her hearing and vision are several times stronger than ordinary people, and she heard the conversation from a distance. Your Holiness. A group of people hurriedly saluted. Although Bibi Dong had just become the Pope, in the entire Wuhan city, the Pope was supreme. She represented the messenger of the angel god, and was the ruler of the soul masters. No need to be polite. Okay, go and arrange the competition. Yes, I'll go right away. Bibi Dong glanced curiously at Marzianapang, who had short red hair, and was wearing a red leather jacket, and said in a light tone, little guy, I hope you can show your strength and talent that match your pride. Oh, am I being targeted by Bibi Dong? Not really, isn't it just a freshman selection competition? Do you need to come and watch the game in person? Besides, you finally became the Pope, shouldn't you be very busy? Also, have you sucked the last Pope Kanrinji dry? If you didn't suck it dry, why did you come out? I think you should go back and continue to improve your strength. Hongjun felt like thousands of horses were galloping in his heart. Thinking that this poor woman would die sadly in the future, he felt quite sorry. After finally becoming a god, she was defeated by the cheating Tang-san. Before she died, she had to bless her former lover to be with someone else. How uncomfortable that must be. In the novel, Bibi Dong's ending, she unexpectedly changed her nature before she died. Not only did she not have hatred, but she also blessed the person who abandoned her. This was very unrealistic in Hongjun's opinion. A woman who had embarked on the path of a Rakshasa god had long been filled with hatred. How could she bless others? The only possibility was that, because of her daughter Kyan Rinksu and her most beloved disciple Hulina, in order to prevent them from being implicated, she could only turn evil and return to the right path before she died. Alas, she was a poor woman after all. Looking at Bibi Dong's back as she walked away, she had a proud figure, gorgeous clothes, and was surrounded by countless people when she went out. But who knew her sadness? Bibi Dong turned her head and glanced around in confusion. So, master, is there anything else? Hulina asked curiously. Bibi Dong turned around and shook her head, saying, it's okay, let's go. Although he entered and exited the titled Douluo realm, his consciousness had already entered it. Just now, his consciousness suddenly felt a strange fluctuation. Hey, why are these three guys up? Didn't they say the competition will start? A group of spectators in the audience were talking about it, and they were all a little confused for a while. Isn't it going to be a melee? Are you stupid? A melee? There are 2 women and 1 man on the stage, and the little fat guy is famous for his dirty hands. Isn't he destined to be besieged? It seems so. A group of spectators nodded in agreement, looking at the smiling little fat guy above them. They actually felt a little pity and regret. I have placed a heavy bet. Senior Werner, and this beautiful sister, do you want to discuss cooperation? Ma Xiaopang said generously. Werner waved her hand with a smile and said, one of us is a control system and the other is a quick attack system. If we have to discuss strategies, when we are 2 against 1, it would be too despised. By the way, you seem to have never shown your second soul skill. Is it a hidden skill? Are you saving it for this time? Werner has also been following Hongjun's competition. Hongjun nodded and smiled. Sisters, please pay attention. My second soul skill is very powerful. As the heat intensified, the referee decisively announced the official start of the competition. Fang Ying is a control system soul master. Her martial soul is very different from others. It is actually a deep cold chain. First soul skill, cage. The chain emerged from the ground, making a clanging sound. Ma Xiaopang dodged, but as soon as he jumped up, a figure appeared in front of him. Zhao Hongjun, sister is a quick attack system. Werner raised her leg and landed on Hongjun's hands, kicking him down directly. Seeing that the chains were about to tie him up, Hongjun decisively backhanded and hit the ground with a falling leaf palm. The huge energy not only swung away the flying iron chain, but also took advantage of the momentum to jump high, and then directly used his first soul skill in the air. First soul skill, Evil Phoenix Assault. A phoenix evil fire flew out, but the target was not Werner, who was just a few feet away, but Fang Ying, who was controlling the first soul skill. Fang Ying had already seen that Ma Xiaopang's first soul skill had a tracking function, so she did not dodge in a panic, but directly condensed a cage in front of her. The evil phoenix assault broke the cage, but the power was limited to this. Apart from blowing Fang Ying's hair into a mess, it did not produce any unexpected effects. Zhao Hongjun, you are a bit too much. How dare you ignore me? Your sister Werner flashed in front of Ma Xiaopang. At this time, she had gathered a small ball in her hand at some point, and lightning flashed from time to time in the small ball. It was actually condensed by wind and thunder. First soul skill, wind and thunder ball. Her soul skill is very strange. A soul master of the agility attack system has a long range attack method. However, this soul skill has its own flaws. Although it is powerful, it is easy to dodge and does not inherit the swiftness of the wind. Therefore, it can only be used at close range to achieve the best effect. Werner's martial soul is the Wind Thunder Bird, an extremely rare soul beast. It not only has the speed of wind, but also has the burst attack of thunder. Zhao Hongjun, don't blame me for being cruel and ruthless. Who made you so powerful? Seeing Ma Xiaopang falling faster and faster, Werner jumped high again. When the two figures were about to collide, Ma Xiaopang's figure suddenly stopped for a short time, and then he turned to the extreme contrary to the physical trajectory, and flew into the air. Chapter 65. This time the reputation is really established. What? Not to mention the crowd of spectators, even Bibi Dong and poor Daluo changed their expressions. The short and fat body actually flew up, and behind him, 3 pairs of wings condensed from dark red flames actually grew. He actually condensed soul wings. Demon Bear Douluo was also shocked, and then looked at Douluo with a calm face, and couldn't help laughing out loud. Ha ha ha, no wonder even an old guy like you admires him so much. He condensed soul wings at such a young age. He is simply a little monster. Poor Daluo's eyes were bloodshot, and he became more and more jealous when he heard the laughter in his ears. If this little fat guy really grows up, it may take less than 30 years for him to enter the realm of titled Douluo and become one of the most powerful people in the entire Douluo continent. She is really good. Bibi Dong smiled and stroked Hulina's hair and said, Nana, it seems that you will have a rival in the future. Hulina stared at the figure on the field and whispered, don't worry, master, Nana will definitely not let you down. Well. Bibi Dong nodded with satisfaction. It's good to have ambition. A strong person must have a stubborn belief that never gives up. On the field, Werner's attack missed, and the wind and thunderball exploded in the air. The lightning flashed, and the wind was surging. The flying thunderball seemed to be only the size of an adult's fist, but the soul power compressed inside was very sufficient. Even a great soul master would probably find it difficult to resist it. Second soul skill, Phoenix Rain. While the two were stunned, Hongjun decisively activated his second soul skill. A range attack fell, and dark red fire spots floated all over the sky, like a heavy rain. Because Werner's body was still in midair, she had no point of support and nowhere to hide, so she could only passively support her soul power to resist. Fang Ying also propped up her own cage again, trying to trap herself in it, so as to block the external attack. But the fire point of Phoenix Rain was very small, and many flames passed through the gaps, and fell directly on Fang Ying. If it weren't for the special clothes and the support of soul power, she could barely resist, and didn't let her clothes be ignited. Good boy, this move is beautiful. Xiangmo Douluo clapped his hands, and laughed out loud. At such a young age, he not only reached the realm of a great soul master, but also possessed soul wings. Moreover, his second soul skill had a group attack range skill. This little fat man did a great job. What did I just see? Purple. Purple. No, it seems to be black. The spectators in the audience stared with their eyes wide open. Even though the countless flames hurt their eyes, no one was willing to close them. This guy's too much. Zixi gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. You are worthy of being a ruthless and treacherous person. This move is well done. Werner's tight purple clothes are now in tatters. Even with the soul power to resist, the clothes still have holes from being burned, revealing her spring scenery. Although there is nothing real on her chest, her exquisite and slender figure is better than many young girls, which makes these men with wolf nature have stars in their eyes. Second soul skill, Bind the Air. Fang Ying gritted her teeth and held up her soul power. As soon as the Phoenix Rain stopped, she instantly unfolded her soul power and used her second soul skill. Dozens of iron chains appeared out of thin air above the ring, like a big net, falling from the sky and covering the entire ring. Hongjun tried to pass through the chains, but as soon as he flew into the air, countless iron chains appeared horizontally between the chains again, forming a huge fishing net, directly blocking all his ways. HMPH, you can't escape. Fang Ying's face became paler and paler. Her soul power was limited. Using such a powerful soul skill would consume her soul power very quickly. If this trick still couldn't solve him, she would have to passively take the beating. Under the fishing net made of countless iron chains, chains would fall from time to time and whip towards Hongjun. However, the speed of the chain was not fast. Ma Xiaopang flapped his wings slightly and dodged easily. This won't work. It doesn't seem to hurt you. Fang Ying smiled strangely and said, is that so? First soul skill, Cage. Fang Ying attacked Ma Xiaopang again, and this time the cage actually emerged directly from the iron net, and as the fishing net continued to shrink, Ma Xiaopang's space form maneuver became smaller and smaller. Second soul skill, Gust of Wind and Thunder. At the same time, Werner also recovered from the previous attack, simply wrapped up the spring light on her body, and gritted her teeth to launch the second soul skill. The Swift Thunder was known for its speed. It rushed towards Hongjun like a gust of wind with rolling thunder. It was so fast that even Hongjun, who had already spread out his 6 wings, could not dodge it for a while. From a distance, Ma Xiaopang's small body seemed to be struck by lightning. His body was trembling for a while, and then he was tied up in a cage. This kid is still careless. Douluo frowned. In his opinion, the strength of his disciple was far from this. If he had launched a thunder attack at the beginning, he would not have been trapped at all. After all, this little guy has a lot of tricks, some of which are even comparable to soul skills. Stinky boy, you really made the sisters angry. Werner gritted her teeth and looked at Ma Xiaopang trapped in the cage. Her eyes seemed to be spitting fire. Ma Xiaopang also withdrew his soul wings, but his body still did not completely recover. Even though he had opened dozens of orifices, his body was several times stronger than the soul masters of the same realm. But lightning itself is a means of attack from heaven and earth, and its power is so strong that it makes his body numb. I say, senior sister Werner, you are really ruthless this time. Aren't you afraid that you can take me away with one move? Ma Xiaopang bared his teeth. Although the pain in his body was easing quickly, the abdomen kicked by Werner was as painful as a knife. Werner said angrily, take you away. I wish I could skin you alive now. Not only her, Fang Ying also looked angry. It was too humiliating. The two of them worked together, but they were beaten so badly. Ahem. But senior sister Werner's figure is really good. I take back what I said not long ago. Ma Xiaopang sighed. Although he was in pain all over, it did not affect his appreciation of beautiful women. You are really hateful. Werner rubbed her hands again, and there was a faint gathering of wind and thunder in her hands. She was ready to make another ball for this guy. Senior sister, come back. Mahan turned the soul power around her body, and at the same time, merged with the martial god body, allowing her own acupoints to speed up, quickly expelling the remaining power of the thunder and lightning, and at the same time, tapped her abdomen more than 10 times. Only then did the pain in her abdomen stop. She has been running naked for 2000 years, so fast. Chapter 66 End. Hurry up and solve it. Don't waste time. Fang Ying's forehead was gradually sweating. Her martial soul was the cold iron chain, which belonged to the category of weapon martial soul. Controlling it consumed her soul power almost every minute. Especially now that she was maintaining her second soul skill, she was almost unable to hold on. Okay, after solving this bad boy, you can choose to rest for half an hour, and then we will compete for the championship. Werner smiled evilly. Obviously she didn't want to take advantage of others. Fang Ying frowned, but finally nodded and agreed. Okay. Don't you think you will win, beautiful sisters? Ma Xiaopang spread his hands with a smile. Although he was locked in a cage, he didn't have to think about the next game. HMM. Werner and Fang Ying looked at him together. My iron chain is the same as cold iron. Even though I'm only at the level of a great soul master now, even if you are a soul master, it is impossible to break free from my iron chain cage. Fang Ying's face became paler and paler, and it was obvious that her soul power was consumed too much. Oh, really? Ma Xiaopang laughed. So what if I can't get out? As long as I defeat you, won't that soul skill be automatically lifted? Not good. Werner's face suddenly changed. She saw that Ma Xiaopang had raised his finger and gently pointed at Fang Ying. In the air, something invisible to the naked eye slipped through the air and flew past. In the blink of an eye, it hit a certain position on Fang Ying's chest. After Fang Ying was hit by this attack, she felt that the blood in her body stagnated, and her brain was instantly dizzy, and she fainted directly. She lost consciousness and could not continue to maintain the operation of soul power. The cage and the air binding dissipated at the same time, and Ma Xiaopang also broke free from being controlled. However, at this moment, Werner also rushed over at the speed of lightning and thunder. At the moment, when the cage dissipated, the first soul skill, the Wind and Thunder Ball, also stuck to Hongjun's front, and it was completely impossible to avoid it. Hongjun quickly opened the dark red light curtain protection and forcibly took the attack. A terrifying explosion sounded, and Verna fell backwards, and Marzianapang in the air could not see his figure clearly, as he was already submerged by the lightning. It should be successful this time. Verna gritted her teeth. This little guy has too many tricks, and he will take advantage of her if she is not careful. However, when the lightning dissipated, Marzianapang was still floating in the air. I don't know when he had opened his 6 wings again, and his soul power protection had dissipated. His face was dark and his clothes were tattered. It was obvious that he was hit hard by this blow. After all, the soul power was almost the same, and because it was a temporary condensed defense, the compression of the soul power did not achieve the desired effect, so it only prevented the instantaneous impact. When the thunder fell, it was quickly broken. Fortunately, he has been focusing on physical training over the years, and with the bonus of the martial god body, he did not suffer particularly serious injuries. Sister Nap, you are really cruel this time, and you actually launched a sneak attack. Marzianapang wiped the stains on his face, then withdrew his soul power and slowly landed on the ring. Now there are only 2 of us left. You are very fast, so I think your fighting power should still be well preserved. Let's have some fun. Verna was speechless. His first soul skill even shook himself away, but he didn't knock the little fat man out, but made him defend. At this moment, she wanted to curse. He is still hitting a hammer. A level 24 can burst and fly, can resist and attack in groups. Even the speed is fast like a quick attack type soul master. Is this still a human? Zhao Hongjun, sister, I want to ask you now, are you really just a great soul master? Verna sighed speechlessly. She had very little soul power left. Without the blessing of soul power, her speed could not be increased. Yes, that's not the case. I have been verified. I'm a level 24 great soul master. What's the matter? Do you still think I'm faking it, sister Na? Marzianapang laughed. Verna thought for a moment and continued. Then, what you told me this morning, is it all true? This morning? What did I say? Hongjun was a little confused. Verna was a little anxious. It's about cultivating your mind and following your heart. Hongjun said, you have to follow your heart to cultivate your mind, so that your soul power can flow smoothly. What I said is true, sister Na. You have to believe me, sister Na. After all, we are from the same hometown, and go to the same school. How could I lie to you? Well, senior sister, I believe you. Verna breathed a sigh of relief, ignoring the sudden exposure of her spring light, straightened her back, and raised her hands and said, no more fighting, I surrender. Ahem, sister Na, you are still a bit good. As she straightened her body, the large and small holes were immediately exposed, and Marzianapang's eyes happened to see something through the gap. Huh, what are you looking at, you little brat? I'm 5 or 6 years older than you compared to the embarrassment not long ago. Verna's mood at this time was much calmer. I hope this woman can wake up later. Marzianapang muttered to himself, while stealing a glance. What did you say? Verna frowned. Marzianapang quickly waved his hands and said, I didn't say anything, sister Na. I was just wondering if you are going to compete next. Verna said, no need. There will be rewards for the top 3 anyway, so give it to her. Verna smiled and said, but Marzianapang, we may all be teammates in the same team in the future. I don't know about you, but I see that this girl Fang Ying has a bad temper. Not only did you knock her out today, but you also made her look bad. Women's minds are generally not very narrow. You must be careful in the future. Oh. Hongjun laughed and said, don't worry about this, sister Na. You'd better go down quickly. Didn't you notice the looks of those people in the audience? They're almost about to pounce on you and eat you. Verna couldn't help blushing and said angrily, it's all your fault, kid. I don't know where you learned so many bad ideas at such a young age. After that, Verna jumped off the stage and stripped off the coat of Zixi, who was watching the show. Lend it to me. Look, sister Na. Zixi's face froze and then suddenly flushed. Although it was a coat, the pink sweater underneath couldn't be exposed casually. Is it over? No way. The female contestant just said that she gave up and volunteered to be the third place, and the other one on the stage is still unconscious. Does that mean the game is over? The rankings are determined? It's over. My private money. I really lost a lot this time. The crowd of spectators in the audience took a long time to react. Some were excited, while others were distressed. Good boy, you made a lot of money this time. As the game ended, Fang Ying was also awakened by the referee. As the second place contestant, she followed behind with a confused look on her face and walked towards Pope Bibidang. What just happened? Chapter 67, Space Soul Guidance Device. At this time, although it was late, the competition venue was still crowded. The Spirit Hall had a barrier. Although it was not usually opened, it indirectly affected the entire Spirit City, resulting in a small difference in temperature between the Spirit City and the outside. Moreover, most of the people living in the Spirit City were Spirit Masters. With the support of spirit power, ordinary severe cold could not have much impact on them. Okay, everyone, be quiet. Next, please invite His Holiness the Pope to personally present the awards to the three little geniuses. Surrounded by a crowd of people, Bibidang walked up to the central platform with crutches and elegant and noble steps. Greetings, His Holiness the Pope. Congratulations, little boy, you won the first place in the new generation this year, just after coming to the Spirit City. When Hongjun walked past Douluo praised with a smile on his face. After all, the little guy was his disciple, and he won the first place, which was also a glory for him. Master, is the scar on your face still there? When they first met, Hongjun noticed the long scar. As a soul Douluo, and with the support of a title Douluo, he should have taken such an important position on his face very seriously. Scars are a tragedy for women and a shame for men, but sometimes they are also a symbol. I cut off one of the arms of that old guy Dinka, so it's not a loss, if you think about it. Douluo smiled faintly, not at all angry, because Ma Xiaopang mentioned the scar on his face. Well, I remember this grudge, and I will make the Ding family pay with blood in the future. Ma Xiaopang clenched his fist solemnly. If anyone dared to attack his family, he should be prepared to die. In the original novel, Hongjun had no family, and had nowhere to go even after graduation, but this life was different. Perhaps because of the butterfly effect of his own time travel, this family was still happy and harmonious. He wanted to protect this warmth for the deceased Hongjun. Go quickly, don't let the Pope wait too long. Douluo smiled and rubbed his fiery red short hair. Hongjun tilted his head and decisively ran towards Verna and Fang Ying. This damn head-patting killer. Stinky boy, where did you go just now? Verna said angrily. Nothing, I met an acquaintance, and went to say hello. Ma Xiaopang laughed. Fang Ying said indifferently, humph, it turns out that he is a relative. Ma Xiaopang was dissatisfied and said, hey, don't think you can frame people just because you have big breasts. I'm like this, I got points, based on my strength. Get points? Fang Ying was stunned for a moment, and then she became cold again. Her face remained the same. She already understood what was going on. She was actually knocked unconscious by Ma Xiaopang on the ring. This was simply a great shame for her, and she could not tolerate it. People like you, disgusting. Where am I disgusting? Ma Xiaopang was a little confused. What did he do? Didn't he just win the game? Verna patted Ma Xiaopang on the shoulder and said meaningfully, Xiao Hongjun, women are like this sometimes, getting angry for no reason. Don't think about it. Maybe she doesn't even know why. You. Fang Ying glared at her. The woman in front of her was not a good person either. Okay, Xiao Ying, we are all brothers and sisters in the same team in the future. What's there to be angry about? It's just a game, isn't it? Verna said to smooth things over. After all, the three of them will definitely form a team in the future. Although there will be other people joining, the three of them will definitely not change. And the Spirit Hall will organize a new team for training every year. The newcomers trained will also be the support of the Spirit Hall in the future. Children, please step forward and accept the gift from His Holiness the Pope. The person in charge is also an elder and a famous existence. He is the old guy who will go to the Xiandao Empire to participate in the team competition selection soon. Hongjun walked in the middle, while Werner and Fang Ying walked slowly to the platform on the left and right. Behind Bibi Dong, 3 maids had already held up 3 silver plates covered by red cloth. 3 brave young men, congratulations on your victory. Bibi Dong's delicate voice seemed soft, but it gradually resounded throughout the entire competition arena. Every year, our Wuhan Hall will select talents, and the top 3 will receive rewards from the Wuhan Hall. Fang Ying, come forward to receive your reward. Fang Ying walked forward slowly, and Bibi Dong took out a purple gauze dress from the silver plate behind her. This is the purple fairy skirt, which can resist water and fire erosion. Next was Werner, who received a small bead called the Deep Sea Dragon Pearl, which could support a 3-meter sized barrier, allowing people to move freely in the sea. Hongjun. Finally, it was Hongjun's turn, and he also got something he had always dreamed of, a space-type soul guide, which had a full 30 cubic meters of space inside, which could store any non-living objects. In addition to the extra rewards for the top 3, all the contestants who entered the top 10 can voluntarily choose an elder as their teacher, to teach and train you. Bibi Dong continued to talk, and as her words fell, the applause and cheers from the audience never stopped. Ma Xiaopang sighed secretly. The competition is held every year, and I don't know where these guys get such high enthusiasm, and they are not afraid of shouting their voices hoarse. In the end, Ma Xiaopang chose Xiang Mo Daluo under Delru's suggestion, and Xiang Qishan almost laughed his head off. In that case, then this year's rookie team mentor will be Xiang Mo Daluo. Bibi Dong suddenly laughed. Oh. Xiang Qishan's expression suddenly froze, and he wanted to laugh but couldn't. This is a tough job, and it will waste several years of his time. Your Holiness, I'm a rough man. I'm afraid that I'm a little. However, before Xiang Qishan finished speaking, the thorny porpoise Douluo beside him interrupted and said, don't be modest, Xiang Mo. Everyone knows that you are strong, and have many capable people under you. I think you must have your own unique teaching methods. Why, the Pope asked you to teach a few students today, and you are still planning to refuse. Bibi Dong also said, Thorn Porpoise Douluo is right. This time the new team is handed over to you. I believe that you, Xiang Mo Daluo, will definitely train them into the pillars of our new generation of Wuhan Hall. Well then. Xiang Qishan had no choice. With so many people watching from the audience, he couldn't continue to refuse, so he could only grit his teeth and agree. Hongjun, come to the hall to find me early tomorrow morning. I have something to talk to you about. Xiang Mo Daluo glared at Hongjun angrily, and then followed behind Pope Bibi Dong and evacuated together. As the game ended, countless spectators left the venue, and went home to their mothers. Goodbye, Xiao Hongjun. I'll come see you in 2 days. Werner also twisted her body, and left with a group of young men and women. Ma Xiaopang was a little confused. What did he do? Why did Xiang Mo Daluo look like he wanted to eat me when he left? Chapter 68 The Happy Life of the Two Siblings. I'm really going to make a fortune this time. Ma Xiaopang was biting the thigh of some unknown soul beast, while proudly moving his legs, showing his ruthless behavior. With this little money, if Ma Xiaoxio dares to put on airs in front of me again, I'll throw money at her and make her cry. In order to make a big profit, Ma Xiaopang bet all the 100 gold soul coins left by Ardino and the 300 gold soul coins hidden in his underwear pocket on himself. With a 1:2 odds, in just less than 10 days, he turned 400 gold soul coins into 800, making a lot of money. If the organizer hadn't recognized Ma Hongjun's identity, he might have been at risk of being robbed if he walked into the dark alley. Calculating the time, there is still a month before the new year. I don't know how my parents and Xiaoxio are doing. In the small town of Yagus, snow was falling. The ground was already covered with white. In a luxurious villa, the gorgeous swimming pool has frozen. Around the swimming pool, a group of maids are busy going back and forth. Hurry up, what are you dawdling about for? A thin figure is standing on a high stool, gesticulating and directing. Hey, be careful, that white jade radish is the favorite of Godmother. If it breaks, she will peel your skin. Ma Xiaoxio, wearing a snow white coat, was busy directing. In her little hand, she was holding a black thing, which turned out to be a chicken leg. Ouch, my tooth hurts. Ma Xiaoxiao was so angry that she threw the chicken leg out, making a thumping sound. The poor little chicken leg stayed in the severe winter for too long, and only half of its body was frozen by the frost. Ma Xiaoxiao bit it, and almost knocked out her only neat tooth. Come here, Ma Xiaoxiao. Why are you making so much noise so early in the morning? If you have nothing to do, go to the kitchen and help cook. Don't make trouble for others. Seeing that Ma Xiaoxiao didn't stop, Ma's mother tightened her clothes angrily, walked up to Ma Xiaoxiao, grabbed her ears, and dragged her into the house. Mom, what are you doing? Let go, let go. It's going to fall off. My ears are going to fall off. Ma Xiaoxiao struggled hard and was dragged into the hall. Ma's mother let go of her with a lingering anger. It's better if it falls off. Anyway, my daughter's ears are not working well. She doesn't even listen to your mother's words. Just tear it off and forget it. Ma's mother complained. What are you, a 10-year-old girl, doing giving orders? Isn't it cold outside? Besides, these are teacher Shia's things. She can move whatever she wants. The owner can't say anything. Why are you making such a fuss? You don't behave like a girl. Ma Xiaoxiao's ruddy face was full of dissatisfaction. She puffed her cheeks and said unconvincedly, Teacher Shia has adopted me as her goddaughter. How can I be unbehaved? She is moving and taking us to find my brother. What's wrong with me helping her out of kindness? Godmother Shia went out early in the morning. Shouldn't I help keep an eye on her? Ma Xiaoxiao, you're so great. Now that you've grown up, you want to abandon your mother just because you have a godmother? I'll tear your ears off today. Ma's mother became more and more angry. She was an impatient person to begin with. She was even more irritable when doing farm work in the fields. Today she found out that the cabbages she raised have learned to talk back. It seems that she has to teach her a lesson. What are you doing, Mom? So many people are watching us. Go away. Ma Xiaoxiao immediately got scared and hid in the hall. You little girl, you dare to run away. I'll teach you a lesson today. Ma's mother picked up a pillow and chased Ma Xiaoxiao to beat her. Mom, please let me go. So many people are watching us. Please give me some face. Face? What face do you want? A 10-year-old girl. Soon, Ma's father was also awakened by the noise in the house. Dad, save me, save me. Mom wants to beat me again. Ma Xiaoxiao saw her father coming out and rushed over without saying a word and hid behind Ma's father. What's going on? What's going on? What are you two doing there so early in the morning? Ma's father was obviously a little dissatisfied. After all, this is someone else's territory. Not only are we living under someone else's roof, but we also need their protection. Do you two really think this is your home? No, Dad. I got up in the morning and wanted to help Godmother Shia. As a result, Mom came out and grabbed my ear and wanted to beat me. Ma Xiaoxiao was the first to make a sophistry. Okay, Ma Xiaoxiao, you dare to talk nonsense here in front of your dad. It seems that you are really itchy. You want to go upstairs and tear down the tiles after 3 days of not being beaten. I think you just want to be beaten. Ma's mother was furious. Seeing that her husband actually wanted to stop her, she grabbed the pillow beside her and beat her together. Soon, under Ma's mother's good intentions, Dad Ma decisively turned to the side of justice and gave Ma Xiaoxiao a mixed doubles. The morning sunshine mixed with the cold wind blew in, but this originally quiet villa was not deserted at all today. Dozens of maids turned their heads curiously and hid in the corner to enjoy this drama, and Shia didn't know when she came back. Seeing this warm scene in the hall, she smiled knowingly and quietly walked into the house. She decided to take another nap. It seemed very warm this morning. In the spirit hall, Ma Xiaopang leisurely walked into the hall belonging to Douluo. As soon as he entered the hall, he saw a burly man sitting in front of the hall and Douluo sitting on the reception chair under the stage. What time is it? Douluo asked with his hands folded across his chest. Ma Xiaopang looked at the sky, then looked at the wall clock, and replied, reporting to Lord Douluo, it's 7:10 in the morning. Douluo suddenly opened his eyes and roared, you still know 7:10? You are 10 minutes late on your first day. Don't you have a sense of time? Oh. Ma Xiaopang was stunned by the deafening roar and subconsciously asked, "Did you ask me to come at 7 o'clock yesterday?" He clearly remembered that he went to see him in the morning. "You run 10 laps around the outer perimeter of Wuhan City. Come back to see me when you're done." Douluo didn't care about that. "It was because of you that I was forced to take on the task of this year's team instructor. Let's not talk about the others for now. I, Master Xiang, will not be able to get over it if I don't teach you a lesson." 10 laps. Ma Xiaopang's face froze and he turned pale with fear. He didn't know how big Wuhan City was, but he knew it was very big. If he ran 10 laps, would he still be able to have dinner? "Didn't you hear what I said?" Douluo stood up slowly. A terrifying sense of oppression instantly hit him, and Ma Xiaopang sobered up instantly. "Okay, I'll run right away." Ma Xiaopang decisively fled from this devil's place, leaving a word and hurried away. 10 laps. Isn't this going to kill people? Ma Xiaopang was originally in a good mood because he made money last night, but now he could only put on a bitter face and run out of the city helplessly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Secretly Determined. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse, and dusk had already faded. The bright moon hung high in the sky, accompanied by the dancing white snow, and countless stars cast bright moonlight, as if the whole night sky was shining. Sure enough, the teacher is right. This guy's my rival. Hulina secretly clenched her fists. Humph, Zhao Hongjun is quite hard-working. He actually ran along Wuhan City for a whole day. Verna smiled, showing her charm. Is this the reason why he has a talent far beyond his peers? Fang Ying's eyes were distracted, looking at the figure below that was almost covered by snow, and her mind was full of thoughts. Zixi pouted and murmured, "I didn't expect that this little fat guy would be so perseverant." Suddenly, the four women turned around at the same time and saw two figures flying over. It was Hongjun's master Douluo and Xiang Qishan who issued this vicious order. Douluo looked at the increasingly dwarfed figure under the city and frowned. Is this kid still running? Lord Xiang no, I think he has reached his limit. The weather tonight is a bit too bad. Why don't we let him stop? Xiang Douluo's eyes were sharp, and he glanced at the four women on the city wall. He just nodded to Hulina and replied without paying attention, "If you want to become a strong man, you must have the mind to face any danger and dangerous situation. This is just a small test for him. If it ends in vain, then it will probably not be a great thing in the future. I will never admit that the order I gave was wrong. I will stick to it to the end with gritted teeth." Hongjun, hold on for me. Since Bibi Dang told about Hongjun's talent, Hulina has paid special attention to Hongjun. She received the news at noon. Knowing that Hongjun was running around the periphery of Wuhan City early in the morning, curiosity drove her to the top of the city wall. Verna was the same. When Zixi went out in the morning, she saw Ma Xiaopang running wildly in front of the city gate, and she met him again when she came back in the afternoon. After returning, she told Verna curiously, and that's why the two of them ran to the city wall to check. Fang Ying accidentally discovered Ma Xiaopang running wildly in the snow, but she couldn't keep up with her speed, so she had to run to the city wall to observe. However, after hearing the conversation between Douluo and Xiang Douluo, they knew the reason. It turned out that the instigator was this burly man. Xiang Qishan looked at it with a faint gaze. As a titled Douluo, his mental power is dozens of times that of ordinary people. Just now, he seemed to sense something. Oh. The four women turned their heads at the same time, looking at the white snow fluttering in the sky, as if nothing had happened, and their attention seemed to be all on this beautiful snow scene. I don't know how long it took. Verna and Hulina and others left one after another, and Xiang Douluo also disappeared on the city wall. Only Fang Ying was still standing there blankly, and Douluo's brows were getting more and more furrowed. There's still half a lap left. Come on, brat. Outside the city, the heavy snow had buried his calves, and Ma Xiaopang moved his thighs, which were as heavy as iron and lead, and ran forward step by step. From the beginning, he ran entirely on physical strength, and then used soul power to bless his body, until his soul power was almost exhausted. Under the pressure of severe cold, the soul power stored in the acupoints was squeezed out again and again. At this moment, he felt that his whole body was not his own. Even though his evil fire was a top-level flame, facing the cold wind, that did not stop at all in the severe winter. His whole body was numb. If it weren't for his mental strength being stronger than that of soul masters of the same realm, he would probably have given up long ago. There's still half a lap left, come on. Hongjun forced himself to cheer himself up, and continued to run forward. The scope of Wuhan City is much larger than imagined. In order to complete it on time, Hongjun can only run. If he doesn't run, he will never be able to complete it. In his previous life, he had tortured himself in various ways in order to practice martial arts. But after coming to this world, because he could cultivate soul power by sitting in meditation, he had less physical training. This time, running made him feel the joy of breaking through the limit again. I don't know how long it took, but when he saw the gorgeous alloy iron gate, Ma Xiaopang almost trembled and fell down. If he hadn't bitten his lips forcefully and let the still warm blood flow into his mouth, his nerves that were almost relaxed would have tightened again. Otherwise, he might have given up halfway and fallen at the gate of the finish line. Hongjun lay on the cold snow, gasping for breath, and his eyes could no longer be opened. Finally, I finally finished running. Soon, two figures, one big and one small, ran over quickly. Good job, little brat. Congratulations, you have successfully completed the test. Douluo walked forward with relief, pulled Ma Xiaopang up, and strode into the Wuhan city with him on his back. Fang Ying stared blankly, her eyes a little dull, and she didn't say a word when someone walked past her. Looking at the V-shaped snow pit on the ground and the barely visible footprints, she felt mixed emotions and her thoughts had long drifted to who knows where. Is this his path of cultivation? Fang Ying has lived in Wuhan City since she was a child. Both of her parents are members of the Wuhan Hall, and their strength has reached the Soul King level. His grandfather is a Soul Douluo level strongman, and they are all influential figures in the Wuhan Hall. But Fang Ying has never relied on her family. Since she awakened her Wuhan at the age of 7, her parents have taken care of her except for food and clothing. Her usual cultivation has hardly made her parents worry about her. However, now compared with Hongjun, Fang Ying only feels ashamed of herself. At the age of 7, his soul power is almost the same as hers, and all kinds of methods are endless. If you can do it, I can do it too. Wait. I will definitely defeat you openly. Staring at the departing back, Fang Ying secretly made up her mind. After returning to her residence, Douluo carefully threw Ma Xiaopang on the bed, tidied it up briefly, and left. On the way back, Ma Xiaopang fell asleep. He was so tired that he even lost his hunger. He just wanted to lie on that warm bed, and sleep until he woke up naturally. He hadn't had a comfortable lazy sleep for a long time. Although he usually looked careless and didn't talk at all. But since he came to this world, he has never slacked off for a day. Every day, no matter spring, summer, autumn or winter, he insisted on practicing. This is why his soul power has increased so quickly. In addition to talent, diligence is more important. People with poor talent can still make up for their shortcomings with diligence. If people with good talent work harder, how can their strength not improve quickly? Ma Xiaopang lay on the bed, holding the quilt tightly with his hands and feet, and a smile from the heart appeared on his face. In his sleep, he told a long story. He dreamed of his wife, his chubby daughter, and his gray-haired parents. The years were quiet and good. He was not killed by a sneak attack at all, but just fainted because of overwork. His wife stayed by his bedside, taking care of him day and night. His parents brought him his favorite food when he was a child, and his daughter sat by his bed and told him beautiful fairy tales. Chapter 70 Team Establishment. Let's go. Ma Xiaoxio sat at the front of the carriage with a cheerful pace, raised the whip in her hand, and whistled a few times. The horse neighed and began to run happily. Slow down, Xiaoxio. The anxious call of Ma's mother rang out in the carriage behind. However, after being freed from Ma's mother's beating, Ma Xiaoxiu ran happily again, without any awareness of being beaten up last night. Although she was about to leave her hometown, she did not feel reluctant at all. Home, where the family is together, can be called home. In a while, I will be able to see that naughty brother. Humph, you still want to abandon me, your sister, you wishful thinking. See how I will deal with you when I get there. Ma Xiaoxiu was already fantasizing, and her mind was full of pictures of how to beat up her own brother. It's better to beat your brother as soon as possible. In a few years, when Ma Xiaopang grows up, she will not be able to beat him with her thin arms and legs. And Shia was in the same car with Ma Xiaoxiu. More than a dozen carriages followed one after another, and almost all the valuable things in the villa were packed up by Ma Xiaoxiu. However, Shia did not comment on this. Although she had lived in the town of Yagas for decades, this departure did not bring her too much reluctance. As early as when she was young, Shia had been working outside for more than 10 years. The reason why the family moved this time was more from the advice of teacher Douluo. The reason why Douluo came to the town of Yagas this time was that he hoped that his apprentice could move to Wuhan City to live, and he implicitly mentioned the future of Wuhan Hall to him. Although Bibi Dong has only been in power for 1 or 2 years, from all kinds of arrangements, people with a little bit of scheming can also see what she wants to do. After all, this woman is not ordinary cruel. Her daughter was only 9 years old, and she secretly sent her to the Xiandao Empire and arranged for her to infiltrate the royal family. After some consideration, Shia decided to move to Wuhan City with Ma Hongjun's parents and sister. She had discussed this matter with Douglas and Foral, but both of them said that they were not ready to leave for the time being. After all, Francis College was their hard work and they could not just abandon it. In addition, it was not easy to plan for the two empires. Before they were fully prepared, the Spirit Hall would not take any major actions, and it would not be too dangerous to stay here. In this way, Shia set off with her people. As long as nothing happened on the way that delayed their time, they would be able to catch up with the new year. Compared with the bustling and prosperous Spirit City, the New Year atmosphere in the town of Agus was simply incomparable. It happened that there had not been a bustling bustle for many years, so they would go to the Spirit City this year. And on the soft big bed, Ma Hongjun tossed and turned, and the pillow had long been thrown into some corner by him. It was a rare sleep, and even if the sun shone on his perky butt, it did not wake him up. Sometimes people who stay in bed are not too sleepy, but because the beauty of the dream often makes them linger. Oh, if everything is true, how great it would be. Ma Hongjun opened his eyes, feeling the warmth brought by the sun, and finally stretched himself out of bed. Seeing that it was already 9 o'clock, he simply washed up and went out. This stinky boy. Today is the gathering time for the new team members. He dared to be late. Wait and see how I will deal with him later. Oh. In the hall, in addition to Xiangmo Douluo and Douluo who were still sitting, there were 9 people standing neatly in the middle, 2 of whom were Werner and Fang Ying, and 4 of the other 7 were the top 10 players in the competition not long ago. Fang Ying and Werner stood there expressionlessly. They all knew the reason, so they didn't complain much, but the others were a little indignant. Who were so proud that they made them wait for a whole hour. However, they were only angry, but dared not speak. After all, there was a titled Douluo sitting at the top. Nearly half an hour later, Ma Xiaopang finally ran in, wiping the rice grains from the corners of his mouth as he ran. Ma Hongjun, stand at the door for me. Xiangmo Douluo roared, and everyone looked at him. However, the 4 contestants from the top 10, after seeing Ma Hongjun, all said in their hearts, it's him. The reputation of being a ruthless and treacherous man is not for nothing. The women who fought against him either surrendered or were knocked off the ring. Those who had a little courage would be pitifully burned through by his evil fire, and then run off the ring with shame on their faces. What's the matter, Xiangmo Douluo? I finished the 10 laps yesterday. Master Dalu can testify to this. If you don't believe me, ask him. Ma Xiaopang stopped where he was with a helpless look on his face. Xiang Qishan's eyes widened, and his face flushed as he said, I know you finished the run, but what happened this morning? You were late yesterday, and you're late again today. Do you have no sense of time? Or do you just not want to come? As a titled Douluo and an instructor, you must have your own dignity. Hongjun spread his hands helplessly, thinking that this old guy seemed to be deliberately trying to make trouble for me. Reporting to Lord Xiang Mo. First of all, you didn't set a time in the morning, and secondly, you didn't tell me to gather this morning. Well, what did you say? Xiang Mo Douluo looked at him with a pair of bare eyes, and Hongjun retorted without flinching. He fainted yesterday, so after sending him home, I didn't tell him about the gathering of the team members this morning. Douluo interrupted. Well. Xiang Mo Douluo glanced at Douluo angrily, and finally turned his head and said, forget about today's matter. It's not just you, Hongjun, but everyone else should listen to me. In the future, unless there are special circumstances or notices, you must gather in the hall on time at 7 o'clock in the morning. I will arrange tasks for you for the day. Humph, if there are still people who are late, don't blame me for being cruel. From beginning to end, Xiang Mo Douluo stared at Ma Xiaopang with a covetous look, as if he wanted to eat him. It's so unlucky. I was targeted again just after I arrived. The morning sunlight refracted down, illuminating the metal hall. Let me tell you something ugly first. The members of this year's Wuhan Hall team have been determined. It will be composed of 10 of you. In the future, we will adopt a system of survival of the fittest. The last 3 will become substitute members, and the remaining 7 will form the official team. Xiang Mo Douluo put his hands behind his back and explained in a serious manner. For a long time to come, you will all be close teammates. There must not be any conflicts between each other, and you must develop a tacit understanding of cooperation. Even when you grow up, you can become partners. After all, as members of the Spirit Hall, you will often go out on missions together. If someone lags behind, there is a high risk of team annihilation, so, whether it is for your own sake now, or in the future, since you have become comrades in arms, put aside all conflicts. If you are dissatisfied with anything, go to the ring, and have a fight. After the fight, get off and shake hands and make peace. Chapter 71 First Dinner. It was not until noon that everyone introduced themselves to each other, and got to know each other. And under the mandatory recognition of Xiang Mo Douluo, Hongjun temporarily took over the position of captain. In order to enhance the friendship of the team members, the captain walked in the front without hesitation. He paid for the lunch, with him treating everyone. Everyone had a friendly meal together. My poor wallet. Because he was walking in the front, no one noticed that the tall figure had a bitter face in front of him. Soon, a group of people left the Wuhan Hall and came to the bustling streets. Hongjun turned his head with resentment and looked at the 2 strong old men behind him. He was so angry that his teeth itched. I treated my teammates to a meal, but why did you 2 old guys follow me? Don't you know that you have a big appetite? Can't you eat alone? Dear Captain, what are we going to eat for lunch? Verna pursed her lips and walked forward. Because of the height difference, her hand naturally rested on Ma Xiaopang's fiery red short hair. Take your claws away. Ma Xiaopang waved his hand with resentment and opened Verna's hand. I'm your captain, show me some respect. Verna was stunned and then seemed to react. This guy seemed to be only as tall as her chest. Don't be discouraged, Xiao Hongjun, you are only 7 years old, you are still young, you will grow up sooner or later. Sister is waiting for you, the stinky woman. I'm actually old enough to be your father, but you dare to tease me. Pa. A crisp sound rang out, and a group of people looked over instantly. Ma Xiaopang raised his right hand and said angrily, listen carefully, you guys. I'm the captain appointed by Xiang Mo Douluo himself, and you should show me some respect in the future. Otherwise I will slap the men in the face and the women in the buttocks, and I, the captain, will not show mercy. Oh. What does it have to do with me? Xiang Mo Douluo's expression froze, indicating that he would not take the blame. Verna stood there blankly, her face flushed instantly. She had just been spanked. Her parents had never spanked her since she could remember, but today she was spanked by this fat boy in the street. Ah, you're looking for death, Ma Xiaopang. Verna felt her blood boiling. She wanted to kill this guy, this abominable guy. Ma Xiaopang ran away with a whoosh. I'll wait for you at Hongjun Hotel. The voice was still echoing in the air, but the man had completely disappeared. Sure enough, there are only wrong names, but no wrong nicknames. Several boys looked at each other, as if they were thinking about whether to chase after them to stop the fight. They were not beaten by Hongjun, but they were afraid that Verna would suffer again. Fang Ying, Annie, Lanzi and Yu Minimum, the four girls, lowered their heads silently with red faces, and silently decided to stay away from this team leader in the future. It's really too bad. After a morning of communication, several people have already gotten to know each other, and several ladies quickly hugged each other, and they seem to be developing into good girlfriends. And this team of 10 people was also selected by the internal staff of the Spirit Hall and the instructor, Demon Bear Douluo, and the distribution was also very balanced. First of all, the Captain Hongjun, although the youngest, has reached the 24th level in strength. His spirit is a mutant turkey. He calls himself an evil fire phoenix, and his flame is indeed not to be underestimated. More importantly, his strength is the well-deserved first in the team. Among the 9 team members, Verna is a spirit master of the agility attack system, and her spirit is the Wind Thunderbird. She is a spirit master of the agility attack system, and her current spirit power is 23rd level. Fang Ying, an auxiliary control system spirit master. Her spirit is the Deep Cold Chain, and her current spirit power is 23rd level. Jie Chunfeng, also an agility attack system spirit master. Her spirit is the Swift Wind Wolf, and she has the speed of the wind, and her current spirit power is 21st level. Yu Minimum, an auxiliary healing system spirit master. Her spirit is a colorful bead that can release healing light, and her current spirit power is 22nd level. Kinnan, a defensive spirit master, has a 3-eared tripod as his spirit, which has extremely strong defense power, and currently has a spirit power of level 23. Annie, also a control spirit master, has an ice phoenix as his spirit, which is a top level ice attributed beast spirit, and specializes in control, but the burst of his spirit is completely comparable to that of a strong attack spirit master, and currently has a spirit power of level 23. Kras, a strong attack spirit master, has a greedy demon lion as his spirit, which has extremely terrifying explosive attacks, and currently has a spirit power of level 21. Lan Zhi, an auxiliary spirit master, has a pearl 9-leaf fairy grass as his spirit, which has healing power, and currently has a spirit power of level 21. Zhang Fei, a defensive spirit master, has an armored rhinoceros as his spirit, which has thick skin and flesh, and amazing defense, and currently has a spirit power of level 22. Among the 10 members, although Hongjun is the youngest, he has the highest spirit power, reaching level 24. However, compared to last year, Lina, Ziyu, and Yan, who are also only 12 years old, had a spirit power of level 26, which was much higher than this group of guys. Soon, the group trotted to the destination, and when they asked along the way, they found that they were deceived by the captain again. This is not a hotel, it is clearly an ordinary restaurant. Did we go to the wrong place? Didn't the captain say hotel? Yu Minimum asked with some uncertainty. Kinnan confirmed with passers-by again, and then spread his hands and said, yes, it's here. A group of people looked at each other, and no one was the first to step in. What are you guys doing? Coming quickly. However, at this moment, a loud but childish shout rang out in the restaurant. Ma Xiaopang was standing by a large table, waving his chubby little hands. And Verna, who was sitting next to him, looked aggrieved, with angry eyes. Okay, this is it, let's go in. Jie Chunfeng waved his hand with a smile, and walked in first. However, when they walked in, they found that this seemingly inconspicuous restaurant was full of people, watching the busy waiter carrying dishes back and forth. I have to say, it looks really appetizing. Hey, where are Master and Xiang Daluo? Are they still behind? Seeing that only a few of his teammates came in, he asked curiously. Annie covered her mouth and laughed. It's all because of you. You ran away in a flash. When the instructors saw you running away, they felt embarrassed to continue following you, so they went to find a place to eat by themselves. She has a top-level ice phoenix martial spirit and long snow-white hair. Her smiles and frowns seem to be snowflakes falling. In this case, then everyone, please sit down quickly. I have ordered the dishes. Eat as much as you can. This meal is the captain's treat. Don't be polite to me. Ma Xiaopang acted like a leader. He pressed his hands down, smiled at the corners of his mouth, and motioned everyone to sit down quickly. Verna on the side couldn't help but roll her eyes at him and said, "You are still eating as much as you can. I don't know who ordered the dishes just now. Ask the boss which dishes are delicious, filling and cheap." Oh. Everyone who was originally preparing to sit down looked at him. Ma Xiaopang stood there in a daze, with his hand raised for a long time. Chapter 72, Practice begins. Annie and the others, who were originally laughing, suddenly froze. For a moment, they didn't know what to say. That Ma Xiaopang sat down, laughing and joking. "Don't listen to Sister Na's nonsense. After all, this is the first time I've invited everyone to dinner. I, the captain, am not that stingy. Haha, I say, Captain, you are a bit ungentlemanly. You just joined the team, and you bully senior sister Werner. After all, she is a girl, you don't know how to give her way." Kinnan smiled and made a smooth situation and sat down with Ma Hongjun. "Our captain is only 7 years old, still a child, and doesn't understand some things." Class smiled mysteriously, and that evil smile seemed a bit obscene. "I say class, don't lead our captain astray, he is still young." "Lance," he interrupted. Ma Xiaopang scratched his head awkwardly and laughed. "That, actually, I'm not young anymore. Haha. Haha, Captain, you are so funny." Annie and the others on the side didn't know what they thought of, and their faces suddenly flushed. "You, hooligan." Oh. To ease the embarrassment, Ma Xiaopang continued to pretend. "What's wrong with you? What's so funny? I'm 7 years old. I'm really not young anymore." Yes, the captain is really not young anymore. Kinnan, who was standing by, covered his mouth and laughed. "Humph." Verna rolled her eyes disdainfully and exposed him. "You little pervert, you are still pretending to be pure and innocent here. Do you think others can't see it? Sister Na, can you please stop talking? I'm only 7 years old. Is it really okay for you to ruin my reputation like this?" Ma Xiaopang was going to break the jar and throw it all away. Anyway, in the eyes of these teammates, his image would be lost sooner or later. "Do you still have a reputation?" Verna said with a smile. "Well, this topic can't be discussed anymore." Soon, the dishes began to be served. I don't know what Ma Xiaopang said to the waiter. In the end, the dishes were still quite rich, and both the host and the guests were happy. After lunch, the 10 people returned to the hall. There was no such thing as an afternoon break on the first day. Xiang Kishan had already sat at the head of the class and waited eagerly. "You guys, you're late, you know that?" Xiang Daluo's roar came out before he even opened his eyes. "Got it. If you know it, get out and accept the punishment. The afternoon's task is to run 5 laps around the perimeter of Wuhan City, and auxiliary spirit masters will be punished to run 3 laps. Xiang Daluo roared again, and his roar was filled with spirit power, which shocked several people, to practice their hind legs. "Yes, I will follow the instructor's orders." Ma Xiaopang made a strange gesture, then turned around and trotted. "Everyone, follow me and run." "Oh. No. No way." Lan Zhi looked at her teammates with a bitter face, and seeing that no one objected, she could only run out immediately. "You're really running?" Outside the Wuhan city, a group of guards were all surprised when they saw Ma Hongjun. They couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise, "No way, this little fat guy is here again." They noticed this little guy yesterday. He was running around the Wuhan city in the middle of winter. Even if he was practicing, he couldn't play like this, right? However, soon, they stopped talking. 9 figures followed Ma Xiaopang out of the city. If he ran alone, he might be considered a weirdo, but when there were more people, he became a beautiful landscape. After a night of heavy snow, the ground was already filled with a thick layer. With every step, the sole of the foot would sink 20 to 30 centimeters, which made running more difficult. "No, I can't hold on." You Minimum, as an auxiliary healing soul master, was the first to give up. She was not good at head-on confrontation, and her physical quality was far from that of Ma Xiaopang, Glass and others. "Get up, don't listen. Once you stop, your body won't be able to hold on." Annie held You Minimum's arm and pulled her up. Huh. "Finally it's over." Lan Zhi, an auxiliary spirit master, only had to run 3 laps. Looking at the moonlit sky, she fell directly into the snow, not caring about her ladylike image at all. However, when she saw Fang Ying still running forward, she couldn't help but remind her strangely, "You have already run 3 laps, Fang Ying. Take a break and wait for them to finish running and go back together." As a control spirit master, Fang Ying was also classified as an auxiliary spirit master, so she only had to run 3 laps. But Fang Ying seemed not to hear Lan Zhi's words. Her eyes were always fixed on the front, and she ran forward with gritted teeth. Snowflakes fell on her long black hair, and she looked like a doll in the snow. In the end, Fang Ying became the last person to finish the run. She also ran 5 laps. When she saw her teammates waiting at the city gate, she finally couldn't stand it and fell into the snow. When Hongjun and others helped her up, she muttered, "10 laps. You are such a monster." She couldn't understand why Hongjun could run 10 laps, but she was so tired after running 5 laps. Is the gap so big? This made her proud heart more and more difficult to accept. Ma Xiaopang smiled and comforted, "You are already very good. Some things need to be done slowly. As long as you persist every day, you can always do it." Well, the next morning, the new team gathered in the hall again. Everyone did a good job yesterday and completed the test successfully. However, cultivation requires perseverance. Today is the same as yesterday's task. Keep running. But everyone adds 1 more lap. Run again. After running for 5 consecutive days, not to mention Ma Xiaopang, even Jie Chunfeng and others can run 10 laps. Although they start early every day, it will be dark after they finish. After returning, they have to leave time for cultivation, and the condensation of soul power cannot be left behind. When will this day end? Jie Chunfeng sat down on the ground, obviously very tired. The weather is getting colder and colder. If we keep running like this, we will really be frozen into ice sculptures in the snow one day. Lan Zi also complained unsatisfactorily. Zhang Fei also muttered, "I don't know what Bear Demon Douluo is thinking. Shouldn't he teach us some practical skills? Running around Wuhan City all day long, being watched as fools day by day, it's simply, you guys, the instructor is doing this for our own good. Don't you find that, after running for the past few days, everyone is running more and more easily every day?" Kinnan said with a smile. Class pointed to Ma Xiaopang, who was sitting and doing warm-up exercises, and said meaningfully, "Through my observations over the past few days, I found that our team leader's physical strength is really good. Yesterday he actually surpassed me by a whole lap. I think the reason why the captain has so many tricks is probably because of his good physical fitness, so he can use his soul power so flexibly." Annie also analyzed on the side. Soul power is a kind of energy absorbed by the body. The most essential purpose is to strengthen the body and gain more powerful strength. Listening to the discussion of several team members, Ma Xiaopang was a little amused. He felt that it was necessary to popularize common sense with this group of idiots. Why do we let the improvement of soul power drive the enhancement of the physical body? Can't it be the other way around? A big breakthrough in soul power requires the help of soul rings, but the physical body does not. You mean? Kinnan said with a lost look, "We can focus on physical training?" Hongjun shook his head and continued, "The strength of the physical body can only be said to allow you to improve soul power faster. This is equivalent to a container. The larger the mouth of the cup, the faster it can hold water. When we practice soul power, we also work hard to practice the physical body. In this way, the breakthrough of soul power drives the enhancement of the physical body, and the enhancement of the physical body can also allow us to absorb soul power more quickly." Chapter 73 surprised Ma Xiaoxio. The captain is right. This must be the instructor's intention. Running can help us exercise our bodies, and the harsh environment outside can also hone our will. After a conversation, Klaus and others suddenly realized that this was the instructor's real intention. Fang Ying stared at Ma Xiaopang with an inexplicable look in her eyes, and murmured, "So that's why you are so talented." With the same eyes, there were Vanna and Dan with long white hair. Perhaps this is the so-called 3 women in one play. Ma Xiaopang probably never dreamed that his enchanting talent would be surrounded by wolves. "Since you understand it, why are you still standing there? Run." Ma Xiaopang rushed out first like a leader. The guards in charge of the gate were silent. They were no longer surprised. A group of little perverts disliked the good living environment and wanted to experience the cold of the ice and snow outside the city. This might be because they were bored. In their eyes, this is a group of rich second generations who may have eaten too much supplements every day and have nowhere to digest them, so they have to play snow running. Days passed by, and although 10 laps were not the limit of the body, it was not so easy to increase the speed, and time only allowed them to run so far a day. Soon, one morning, a team of carriages came to the outside of the city, with more than a dozen carriages. Wow, is this the Wuhan city? It's so spectacular. Masayaxio was thinking, staring at the majestic city gate in front of her with stars in her eyes, and she didn't know that snowflakes floated into her mouth. This is just the outer city. The Wuhan Hall and the city is really spectacular. Shai laughed out loud, took out a piece of clothing from the carriage, and put it on Masayaxio. Masayanapang lives here. They stopped and started along the way, and the heavy snow blocked the road. Seeing that there was only one day left before the new year, the carriage team hurried to the outside of the Wuhan city under Masayaxio's urging all day. I haven't seen him for so many days, and I don't know how my stinky brother is doing. Living in a place like this, the prices must be very expensive. He must have become thin, because he couldn't afford to eat. Thinking of this, Masayaxio's face sank. Although her stinky brother was annoying and nasty, he was chubby all over, and it was very comfortable to pinch him, and it didn't hurt to hit him. If the flesh was gone, I wouldn't dare to hit him casually in the future. Di said with a smile, don't worry, that stinky boy won't starve himself. Besides, he is a great soul master. Even if he has no money, he has many ways to make money. Nothing will happen. Is that so? Masayaxio's eyes lit up. It's good that he didn't lose weight. Otherwise, the only two shortcomings that could hit Masayanapang were gone. What would I, as a sister, used to laugh at him in the future? Di touched Masayaxio's head lovingly. During this period, she and Masayaxio lived in the same carriage, and the two lived happily. These days, Di even wondered why she thought it was troublesome to get married. Wouldn't it be cute to have a daughter? If Shai knew what Masayaxio was really thinking, she probably wouldn't think so. Cotton padded jackets sometimes leak air. As early as after bringing Masayanapang's family to the town of Yagas, Shai fell in love with Masayaxio and took her in as her goddaughter. Hey, look at godmother. Are there a few people over there? Masayaxio suddenly pointed to the edge of the city wall in the distance. Well, it seems so. Shai looked at it strangely. For some reason, he always felt that the person running in the front looked a little familiar. It's snowing heavily, aren't they jogging early in the morning? Masayaxio asked curiously. Shai smiled and said, most of the people in Wuhan city are soul masters. Don't think it's cold on snowy days, but for soul masters, as long as they are a little stronger, they can hold on in this snowy day. Oh my god. They will be frozen into popsicles. Masayaxio exclaimed. Little did they know that Masayanapang, who was running at this time, was wearing a padded jacket with the tights inside, in order to make his whole body more flexible. At this time, he was able to run 12 laps, and his body gradually adapted to this environment. Breaking through the limits again and again made him feel refreshed both physically and mentally, a feeling he had often experienced in his previous life, when he was practicing martial arts. Hey, why don't you keep up? Why are you running so fast? Captain, I've already surpassed you guys, and you still want me to copy you for the second lap? Masayanapang proudly threw a mocking buff behind him. What are you proud of? Verna panted and shouted, we still have 2 laps to go, just run slowly by yourself. No one should wait for him later. Oh. Masayanapang was good at changing the subject, slowing down his pace and saying, by the way, everyone, tomorrow is the Chinese New Year, and I guess we will have a day off. Do you have anything to do? Do you want to have a meal together tomorrow and get together? Verna rolled her eyes and said disdainfully, we train together every day, what's the point of getting together? She had an appointment with Zixi to go shopping for clothes together tomorrow. The new year is tomorrow night, and I've agreed with my family to get together. Fang Ying refused embarrassedly. After a few words, the girls in the team all refused, and even Zhang Fei and Glass said they had something to do. Aren't you going to spend the new year with your family? Lan ZHI asked with a little doubt. Ma Xiaopang was stunned for a moment, then smiled and replied, my family is still in the village. It's too far away, so I won't go back for the new year this year. Werner and others rarely calmed down and stopped mocking. Kinnan ran up and patted Ma Xiaopang on the shoulder and said, hey, brother, I'm fine. Let's spend the day together tomorrow. Jie Chunfeng also ran up and said, it's good to live alone. You're free and nobody's watching you. How happy it is. As he said that, he didn't know what he was thinking about. He bumped Ma Xiaopang's shoulder in a lewd way and said with a smile, tomorrow is a festive and lively day. Brother, I'm free too. I'll take you to have a look. There are many fun places in Wuhan City. Lan Zi and others didn't understand what he meant for a while. Instead, Annie and Werner showed a slowly disgusted expression. I say, Jie Chunfeng, don't go too far. Our captain is only 7 years old. Those places are not allowed to go. Annie reminded maliciously. Those places? Which places? Jie Chunfeng said innocently. So, I want to take the captain to taste the food specialties of those old shops in the alleys, isn't it? Ma Xiaopang. At this moment, a voice suddenly came, and a carriage was speeding from a distance. Here, Ma Xiaopang, what are you looking at? Ma Xiaoxiao excitedly shouted at the front of the carriage, her body unstable, and she almost rolled off the carriage, but fortunately she was caught by Shire. Ma Xiaoxiao. Ma Xiaopang was stunned, but when he saw Teacher Shire sitting next to him, his face brightened instantly, and he ran up quickly. Thank you for your kindness, brothers. I won't spend tomorrow with you. I will definitely spend time with you next time, when I have time. Chapter 74 Description. I have something to do these 2 days, so I will write 6 chapters in 3 days. Remember, I will make up for it later. Chapter 75 New Year's Eve. A red after image passed through the snow, and most of the snow on the ground was melted. In the blink of an eye, Ma Xiaopang flew to the carriage. Teacher Shire, Ma Xiaoxiao, why are you here? He had been waiting for a reply from Ardino, but instead of waiting for the letter, he waited for the person to come. HMPH, you are so brave, right? Ma Xiaopang, hurry up and call me sister. Ma Xiaoxiao pouted, looking angry. Hello, Sister Xiaoxiao. Ma Xiaopang bowed pretentiously. Ma Xiaoxiao pouted her mouth and said with an unhappy face, not Sister Xiaoxiao, but sister. Okay, it's sister, sister, okay. Hongjun felt helpless and funny. He was obviously 3 years younger than her, but it seemed like I was coaxing a child. Shai looked at the scene in front of her and couldn't help laughing out loud. It's not just me and you, Xiaoxiao, who are here this time. I've also brought your parents here. They're in the carriage behind us, and will be here soon. Really? Ma Xiaopang's eyes lit up. His biggest worry was for his parents and sister. Ordinary people without soul power were too insignificant in this world. Of course it's true. Ma Xiaoxiao snorted coldly. Why? You are allowed to come to Wuhan City alone, but I, your sister, and your parents can't come together? Of course you can. You're welcome. Hongjun flew to the back, said hello to his parents, and then flew back again. What are you guys doing? Running around Wuhan City in the middle of winter? Looking at the people still running not far away, Shire asked in confusion. Hongjun replied, they are all my teammates. We are the new generation of Wuhan team this year. As he spoke, Ma Xiaopang raised his neck proudly and boasted, and I'm the captain of this group of people, the strongest man. Ma Xiaoxiao's eyes were full of stars, and her dissatisfied eyes gradually turned into admiration. Just you? Shire said with disdain. Although you are indeed talented, the new generation of Wuhan Hall has requirements. They are generally 4 or 5 years older than you, and each of them is a genius with rare talents, and is definitely not weak. If you want to stand out from this group of people, you may have to practice for another 2 or 3 years. Oh. Ma Xiaopang raised his neck higher. Teacher, you know, your apprentice is not an ordinary genius. As he spoke, he happened to see Kras running by not far away, and Ma Xiaopang yelled, Kras, run faster. Thinking that Ma Hongjun had left him behind, Kras replied subconsciously, okay, Captain, I will definitely catch up with you. Then he continued to run without looking back, and every time he ran, a big footprint would appear on the ground. "See, I'm really their captain." Ma Xiaopang shook off the snow on his body proudly, and his fiery red short hair flew in the cold wind. "Hongjun, you are lazy, aren't you?" However, at this moment, a loud roar came suddenly, which scared Ma Xiaopang so much that he jumped off the carriage and chased after Crass quickly. "Teacher, Sister Xiaoxiao, you go back first. I will come to you after training." Feeling that sharp look, Hongjun ran away without looking back, waving his hand without taking away a cloud. "This old guy is really ruthless." Ma Xiaopang complained while running. Douluo Dalu stood on the high wall, with his hands behind his back, watching the every move below in the fluttering snow. "This woman is the female apprentice that Douluo mentioned." After a brief thought, Xiaoqishan roughly guessed Shia's identity. As a titled Douluo, he can basically clearly sense the soul strength of the titled Douluo spirit master. Let's go into the city first, and when this brat finishes training, he will come back by himself." Shia glanced at the figure on the wall, without saying much, and naturally rolled down the curtain. "Who is this person? Why do you want people to run in such a cold weather?" Ma Xiaoxiao muttered a few words in dissatisfaction. She also heard the sound just now. "Hush." Shia covered Ma Xiaoxiao's mouth and hurriedly ordered the carriage to leave. The divine sense of the titled Douluo is incomparable to that of ordinary people. Just now, she felt an inexplicable pressure of being stared at. At dark, Shia's convoy staggered into the city. The Wuhan city was also bustling and peaceful, with various vendors selling along the streets, and bustling crowds shuttling through the streets. The brightly lit houses decorated the entire Wuhan city like daylight. Wow, so beautiful. Although Ma Xiaoxiao was almost 11 years old, she had lived in the peaceful Jelsa village for many years, and had never seen such a prosperous and lively scene. As soon as she emerged, she was attracted by the prosperous and noisy scene, completely abandoning the sense of loss of leaving her hometown. Yes, it's really getting more and more prosperous here. Shia couldn't help but sigh. After she joined the Wuhan Hall, she lived here for a long time under the leadership of Douluo. Let's go back and pack up first." Looking at Ma Xiaoxiao who wanted to squeeze out, Shia pulled her back with a smile. This girl was really not afraid of strangers, just like his brother. Ma's father and mother, who were sitting in the back, were a little panicked. They left their hometown and came here. They had no place to live, no land, and no money. They had to rely on others for everything. This was really too panic for the couple. If it wasn't for the fact that it was too dangerous to stay at home, and their son came here, they would never leave the village. They didn't have any skills or strength, let alone raising 2 children, and they couldn't even support themselves. "Dad, are we going to live here in the future?" Although she saw her son, Ma's mother's heart was still beating up and down. She didn't know how to live in this prosperous city. She had never seen such a prosperous scene. "Well, let's take it one step at a time. At this point, we have no other way to go." Looking at the busy streets, Ma's father sighed and comforted. As the head of the family, she was unable to protect her family, which made her very depressed. "On the one hand, I was worried about the future, and on the other hand, I didn't know how to take care of my family. Our son is a genius with full soul power. Didn't you see that those soul masters all listened to him?" Father Ma continued to say. "Well, I hope so." Mother Ma nodded, forcibly suppressed the uneasiness in her heart, and tried not to appear so flustered. "Sorry, I went back to her home with my girlfriend. I was really confused these days. I owed a lot. I'll check carefully." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.